it's like you take it seriously if you wake up early. And like the people that show up, at least at Mossberg's, the people that show up in the morning,
they're there for a reason.
Dude, they're there for a reason, and they're the higher level people that have the higher skill.
A lot of them, for the guys that are, either don't have kids or live in town, because for me, like I did live in town until not that long ago.
Draw that mic up to you.
Yeah. I did live in town until not that long ago. It's nice to be able to have morning and afternoon if you're really trying to pursue this thing.
Like a 2 a day.
Yeah, 2 days, the way to go. So for me, like I generally wake up, do my 5 o'clock workout, and then in the evening I'll do calisthenics, or I might go to my dad's, which is 10 minutes from my house, and I do a lot of hill sprints, or I do a lot of bag work, or he's got like a pretty full gym in his garage over there, or you've seen the outside.
I was gonna say
that's where the outside gym is over there.
That's your dad's house.
Yeah, so that's the outdoor. That's the Ninja Sanctuary out there, bro.
I like it.
That's the spot.
It's got good vibes. It's got the.
It is great. Yeah, it's quiet. He's got like 35 acres out there. I do most of the work on. So there's one hill, ravine, other hillside, and so I do most of my work on the one hill where you come up to the top, and it's like 150 yard hill, probably 75-80 foot climb. That's where I do my hill runs, and then he's got his shop, and then he's got like the outdoor, the bag, got the makiwara, the Japanese thing. I don't know if I guess I haven't really shown that much on video. So it's essentially it's a 4x4 post with a 2x4 that's been sort of shaped down into like an arm. It's on a band, and so it's on like a stretchy band, like an elastic band. Okay. And so it stands up this way, but you can pull it down, and then it gives you resistance. And so it's got padding on the post, and so you can do like trapping. There's a little leg that comes off the bottom. It's all like a Wing Chun dummy, but the Japanese version of it. So it's just one arm that sticks out about a long arm's length. Yeah. And you work your way around that, and you can trap it, work on simulating throws.
Is it like similar to the thing where it swings, like you punch one and then the other thing swings, so like you have to block?
Similar to that, but all it does is it goes up and
and down.
Yeah, and it pretty much hits like at the bottom it might hit your waist, and at the top it's right above my shoulder. So you can like do head movement around it. You can do traps. You can do like I said, there's a leg that comes off the bottom, so you can work on like sweeps on stuff like that. There's padding on the bottom, padding on the middle, padding on the top, so you can kick it, punch it in the body, punch it in the head. It's just it's really. I find it super useful.
He built that?
Yeah, and it's like that's a traditional thing that he got from some of his guys, like a guy named Tom Honeycutt, who's passed now, but he trained in Okinawa with some of like the last samurais, essentially, and some other guys that he's trained with. But yeah, my dad's OG in the traditional martial arts, so that's where I got a lot of the start of everything. But yeah, his spot it's great. It's like you said, it's like very calm. I don't have to worry about anybody, anything. Birds are singing. Like go get a killer workout and have some Granny's cookies after if I'm able to, and and otherwise, just chat with Dad. He teaches me a little something. He's always he's got to get in there. You probably never met my dad.
I never have, no.
He's got to teach you something, Yeah. Like if he sees me, especially me, we got to do a few drills. We got to do a few things. He's got to go off on something.
Got to give you some wisdom.
Yeah, and it's just, if you ever talked to Ryan about it, like the same way when Ryan worked with him at my brother's in his office, it's just nonstop with that dude.
Oh yeah.
He can't do anything. I wanted to give you this.
Oh, excellent.
I had an extra one for a guy of your size.
Oh, excellent.
So there you go.
Thanks, dude. Which one is this?
That's the last one I just did.
Okay. The one where you just slice and dice this. What do you think?
I like it. It looks good. Yeah.
Thanks, dude.
Absolutely.
I will be wearing that when I do. As Ryan says, don't be doing gay shit in my shirt.
Yeah, don't do that. Yeah.
I was playing Pokemon or something, and I had Mossberg across. He's like, take it off.
Yeah, you can't do that. He won't allow any sort of
dude,
just don't rob a bank. You know what I mean?
That's no robbing banks.
Yeah, don't rob a bank. Don't do anything. We're good.
No promises.
Pokemon's all right.
I'm into crypto, so there's no bank robbing going on.
They rob you.
Yeah, they rug pulls. The shirt will not save you from rug pulls. No, you have a freaking sweet outdoor thing, and so does Tater. You ever seen his videos?
I've seen some of his stuff. Yeah,
I'm like,
I'd love to.
this is cool.
I need to get some trading in with Tater soon.
Yeah,
he's that dude's a savage.
Yeah, I've trained. I've sparred with him on Saturdays, and it's like I see him dumb it down for me. It's like,
yeah, he's one of the. He and I he's one of the hardest spars.
You guys would mesh really well.
We go really.
Your skills would be very complementary towards
for sure. And man, he's so quick, little dude, and I say little. He's close to my size, but he's just And I don't know how. I think he's 25.
Is he really?
He's somewhere in that age range, and he's got a long ways to progress even from where he is now, and he's already one of the best in the whole area. And in terms of kicks, up there with anybody in the world, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in terms of Muay Thai, he's really, really good. And I've trained around a few different places, and in Florida and some different spots, and he's up there with some of the best guys I've ever trained with. You know what I mean?
Kicks and his sequences seem to be so deceiving.
Yeah,
and be
and he's tricky.
Left and all of a sudden right.
Yeah, he's a tricky dude.
Tricky. He's very tricky.
Fast twitch, and he's got some stout legs on him, boy. Always got some stout legs on him. But yeah, he's one of my favorite spars for sure. Don't get to train with him enough. Need to. That's one thing I've been thinking of for this next fight because it's kickboxing. Okay. So I'm gonna make an effort to get down to his gym down in Tulsa area. I think it's in Claremore. Make an effort to get down there and get some sparring in with him because you can't really. It's hard to get a better sparring partner for kickboxing than him in the area. And I think the guy that I'm lined up to fight is around the same size as him.
Oh, nice.
A little bit shorter than me, but short, stocky guy. So
he'll take you out to the woods. You can check out the woods.
Yeah, and
check out the woods.
He's a dad now, so it's I'd like to. I haven't got a chance to meet his little kiddo, but man. So. You're moving. You told me you're moving.
I am moving.
What's the? I saw your video. I watched it. You didn't allude to much on it.
I'm moving in with my in-laws. Is what's happening.
Right.
Yeah. Have you ever done that?
I mean, I've lived in their house that they own. I've never lived with them.
Right.
We've had my mom living with us before.
How'd that go?
It went well. There's always conflicts.
Was that before children?
No, it was after.
I'm sure she helped with them.
So we moved in with her, and she did. We moved in with her.
You're gonna want to get that mic a fist
right
away.
up on me.
Yeah.
I got you.
And you can move it you want to hit if you get comfortable.
This is way too much for me. We moved in with her when I first moved back down to Arkansas. Oh, it was probably 6 years ago, and. So we had a 6-month-old baby, my oldest at that point in time, and she did super helpful. And then when I bought my first house in Anderson, we had a mother-in-law suite right beside the house, so she moved in there, and it worked out great. Kids loved it, you know what I mean? Kind of regret having sold that house.
Oh, really?
Because I did it for multiple reasons. It was right on a creek, and
oh my god,
tons of insurance. Yeah, it was a nice little creek. Ryan talks about it sometimes, but tons of insurance costs because it had flooded right before I bought it. That's one of the reasons we got it for a good price. Yeah. So I had to redo sheetrock in a lot of the house. Had to do most of the floors, and just got it for a steal. For the size of the house, it was 1,800 square foot with a full basement and garage, and then the mother-in-law suite. But yeah, I mean, my insurance was nuts, dude, because it had been flooded. So and I can't remember what the categories are, but it was
the flood zone stuff.
Yeah, it was a flood zone, so it was
Noah's Ark,
$4,000.
Oh my god,
a year in insurance for that thing. So, and like I said, I got it for a steal, but they wanted to insure the house for what it would cost to rebuild it, which was 3 times what I owed on it. So it was the insurance was nuts. And we also lived in the middle of town in Anderson, right next to the public housing, the HUD development. So there was some
some
unsavories.
shenanigans.
Yeah, some shenanigans, some unsavories. There was some middle of the night screaming fests, and having little girls.
Like my neighbors.
Yeah, so having little girls, it was just not ideal for what we were doing.
Unfortunate, because it sounds like a good house.
It was great, yeah. Like I said, redid it. Had a nice little garage in the gym in the garage, and had a lot of things going for it. But I just didn't want my daughters to grow up with like meth heads nearby, or like, for instance, there was a lady who shot up at the creek like within eyesight one time, and we called the cops, and we're like 15 minutes too late, and she was already back over at the public housing, and they were like, well, we can't do anything now. It's like,
why'd you guys even show up?
Right. Dude, I could almost throw a rock to hit the police station from my house too. It was like 100 yards, 150 yards. I got an arm, but
But
yeah.
That's unfortunate, because it sounds like a great spot. But
it was, man. It was really good. But so now we live on the edge of town in Anderson, and smaller house. Got it for like an even better deal, but I had to completely like
redo the whole
gutted
thing.
it.
Is that like a specialty of yours? Like, did you know how to do all that stuff?
I learned a lot of it while I was doing it. Yeah, YouTube, or just
calling friends.
Family, friends. My dad. I grew up doing a lot of construction with my dad, because he had a master plumber's license in Arkansas, and so before like the housing crash of 2008, he was just booming with work, and so he did most of it himself in the Bella Vista and Bentonville area.
What a good place to be.
Oh man, especially at that point in time. So I was constantly like at the job site, on the weekends or in the afternoon, or all summer long. From the age of like 9 to 13, I was 2 or 3 days at least a week, if not 5 days a week, with him going to the jobs.
It's like you're absorbing it at least,
Learning a lot, and learning about hard work, I mean? Like I learned a lot about hard work, about sweat equity, and just saw kind of what it takes to really try and push and build your own thing, because he was making great money at that point in time, you know what I mean? And it was a super great learning experience. I remember telling him though that I think I said I would never do plumbing for a living, which I have, but not like specifically plumbing. Now I work construction.
It's in high demand. It's in high demand, dude.
Yeah, it's not a horrible. It's a great thing to learn.
Yeah, like AI is not going to get your job.
No,
anytime soon.
No, they haven't built any robots yet that can completely,
they're coming.
Remodel a house. Yeah, they are coming. Please don't build one yet. Give me at least until I retire. But like, that is probably going to be the future. I think there's some things that they'll never be able to replicate with technology.
Like what? Because I think about this often. I'm like, what won't be affected,
So they've already got like drywall robots that
but they're like the big armed.
Yeah, it's a big arm that does all that. So that's a lot just to even get the machine there.
Right.
So you're not going to use that for a small job. You know what I mean? That's got to be
a couple, repairs or something.
Just the cost of the machine alone doesn't make any sense. But what would not be, I don't think a robot will ever know how to plumb a house. Really? Like, because there's a lot that goes into it. I guess if you would need a person to program all of the necessary, like measurements and all of the spots where you're putting in, I guess a robot could probably run electrical in a house or something like that. There's just a few things like I used to do floors for a living. Like, I guess that's something that, you could build a sanding robot that could go around and sand this floor in here and make it like perfect. And probably in 15-20 years that'll be a thing, but for now it's like redneck boys like me get in there and sweat all day
and do it good too,
and do a good job. And
in high demand, just nobody knows how to do it. That's why YouTube is so huge, or even TikTok.
And that's one thing, like, I wish I had more understanding of, because I'm pretty technologically inept. Like it's bad. Ryan will tell you, like anybody will tell you, it's pretty bad. I should have paid more attention in school, in computers class, but it just was not.
I don't think they would have taught you anything.
It just was not, like I didn't care.
Yeah.
I just was like, okay, I'm going to play a game real quick.
Yeah. You probably learned more from the game.
Honestly. I might have, but I still, like, I wish video editing or something like that I had some sort of skill set at. And at this point in time, I'm like, is it worth putting the time in to get good at, or should I put more of my time into training and my family and working and all that? Because like it takes time to get good at editing a video, or even to edit a video. Like as you know, I mean, something like that takes a lot of time, takes skills, and like I can only build so many skills. And I remember that video that you posted the other day, like what is it you called, the infinite potential? Yeah, like I've been somebody who's kind of gone down that road. I think a lot of people do when you're young, but you can only do so much. And like that's kind of where I've come to the realization is like I just need some help in those areas and
delegation
to do what I can,
and
focus on, you know, for me, getting better at fighting, getting better in my trade beyond fighting, and spending time with my family, and you know, and all that. But
it's hard when skills begin to like pull on each other too,
like because if I was better at video editing and all that marketing stuff, like I might be farther along in my fight career,
possibly,
you know what I mean? And so that's kind of like one thing I've had to tug and pull with, and that it's like, and I do think about that. But
you could say the same thing about your family though. If I didn't have a family, then I could just eat, sleep,
for sure,
dream at the gym.
And that is something,
like, you know,
that
you don't want to give that up,
right? I have guiltily thought about before, but I would be giving up my driving factor. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing that'll drive for me. Like there's nothing that can drive you like having people that depend on you.
Right.
And, you know, I don't run out of motivation really. It just, I can always look to them like when I'm feeling down on myself or feeling like I don't want to do this today, you know what I mean? Or, which still happens, but you know, like I can always be like, you know, what example am I setting for these girls? What example am I setting for the future, their future, and what they're going to think about, the kind of man they're going to look out for, and everything like that. Like that's some things I definitely think about, and that can push me in the right direction. You know what I mean? And it gives me a little fuel to the fire.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't have I have a wife, mom, you know, dad, brother, but no kids or anything. But I will definitely tap into the imagination of like you'll have kids someday. You better get this shit right. Like you better not just squander it because they're coming, or at least I hope they are. I think.
Well, yeah, that's, you know, that's a choice for you. You know what I mean? You just got to choose to make it happen, which I get it. You know, moving in with your in-laws, you may not want to.
Exactly.
You may not want to get on that train
but
right now.
But also, I've thought of it like this could be the perfect time.
All right, you got help. You got help in the house.
Exactly.
Yep. How old are you? Are you 35? Yeah. Okay. So, and how old is your wife? I've only met her, I think,
32 or 33, one of the two.
Okay, so you're at like a perfect time right now, I think, where it's like there are, you know, you've probably set yourself up pretty well in some of the things that, you know, for your future in different ways. And I know that you've, like you said in that video, like you're making considerations and concessions for like where you want to go next. But there's also like a time limit too. You know what I mean? Right. And so that's kind of something to think about. And I started early, you know what I mean? Like I got married at 22, had kids pretty young, you know what I mean? So like did not plan for kids, but you know, they happened, and we were definitely open to the idea, you know, and everything. So it's been a great journey, and like one of the more difficult but one of the more rewarding things I've ever done is having my 3 daughters now. And yeah, it's like I said, you can't run out of motivation. Their little spirits are so awesome to have around, like, but at the same time it is challenging. Like it's challenging to be a parent, but anything worth doing is going to be challenging. You know what I mean? And there's I don't know any other way to say it other than it's worth it. Like 100% worth it. Like,
many people say that.
Yeah, it's 100% worth it. And beyond that, like, I never wanted to be alone in my later days in life, and it still could happen. Like if I screw up as a dad, you know, I'm a horrible dad, and they're like, I don't want to be around you. That could still happen, but I try not to be.
No, I think you're good there. I think you're good.
I try to be a good dad, man. It's like I said, it's for me. I was never a little girl, so relating to 3 little girls, and you know, Glory's only just over a year old now. She just turned a year old last Saturday, right after, the day after the fight.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, so it's been kind of like really, like I said, it's been educating and like really opened up my mind and my spirit to different ways of being and just how women are and how beautiful, you know, their little spirits and souls are, and how much different and like the way they see the world. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Same thing, you know, being married. You've been married for a while now.
10
right?
years.
Yeah. I'm going on 9 years. So
Yeah.
it's pretty amazing to have a partner. You know what I mean?
Oh, no doubt.
That is there with you through it all, and like ups and downs, and it's.
Oh, it's the best.
Yeah.
I don't know how people do it without.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, that's something that
Many times.
I was talking with Jess, my wife,
Yeah.
yesterday, and she was like, you know, I don't know what life would be like without you. And I'm like, yeah, I 100% agree. You know, like we've been together for a long time now, and I just can't even fathom being 31-year-old, like if I was single, like how that would even that would even go.
Oh
right
God,
now, you know
probably
what I mean?
not very well.
No, yeah.
In today's
for
age,
me, it would not go well. Yeah.
You're not good with technology, so
No,
you know,
I wouldn't.
Tinder's not going to work out.
Yeah, I wouldn't be built for that for sure. Not built for that life.
We had a pretty like morbid conversation, but it was just one like we were just kind of tripping out, and I just said like, you know how crazy it'd be if you died. Like if I was talking to Kelsey, it's like if you died, and it's like just removing her from my future projection of life. Like every projection I have, every simulation,
She's there.
She's there.
Yeah.
Every single one, good, bad, terrible, great, everything. And to just like have her removed, like I told her it's like it's not a reality I ever want. Never want to experience.
Yeah.
But just to imagine, and we're just in the car driving. I don't even know where we were driving, but kind of going back and forth, like, what would you do? And she's like, I have no fucking clue what I would do. You know?
Yeah.
Go to the Amazon and fucking go just survive down there forever. I don't know.
It would be an existential crisis, and I would definitely need to like go somewhere else for sure. There's no way I could just stay in Southwest Missouri. And
no, but you have kids, which is one thing
I know,
we brought up, where it's like if I had kids, if we had kids, then I would have a purpose.
Yes,
because it's partially her. You know, it's like Kelsey is in those kids,
right? So
I can focus on them, but we don't. So it's like, boy, would I get rug pulled hard if that happened?
Right. No, absolutely.
So it was a crazy conversation, but
it's a hard thing. Just to think about for sure.
Yeah, it just showed the depth of like love, and how much she's integrated into my life, and how integrated, and it's probably the same with you and your wife.
Absolutely.
You know,
yeah,
if not more, because if you have the kids.
Yes, yeah, and you have to depend on each other, obviously, like any other married couple, and depend on each other to be there, you know, like, so for pretty much our whole marriage, I was the breadwinner the whole time, and she was always home with the kids, and so she's actually started back waitressing at a restaurant that's actually, they're one of my sponsors now, Honey Pops in Anderson.
Shout out Honey Pops.
Yeah, go by there. It's a pretty good spot.
Are they good?
It's pretty good.
What do they serve?
It's just like American dining. They got like
classic.
pretty good steaks. They do these short ribs that are fire. But you know, like you can get a cheaper option like a smash burger or a Reuben or something like that. But cheap drinks and free pool. They have like
I like this place.
Yeah, free pool. They got free darts. Music on the patio. You know, now that the weather's nice, it's worth going down to for sure.
Yeah. Sounds like a sweet spot.
Yeah, they got live bands on the weekends and stuff. So yeah, it's a good little spot. But yeah, so you know, I had always been the breadwinner, and so it was like I would come home and she had been there all day, and you know she's there with me and the kids, and now she works nights, and that's been since October of last year, so 6-7 months now, and that's been a big adjustment, like being dad at home with these 3 girls, and alone, and like just you know, because when she started I had the little 6-month-old baby, and I had never, like, that's one thing I had kind of missed out on with training and being the breadwinner, like being gone a lot, you know what I mean, like having to work a lot of hours.
You missed out on the
baby phase for sure, especially with my first girl, Ember. Like, we moved into that house in Centerton with my mom, and I was working. I was on salary at that point in time. That was the end of, well, I was doing floors for a living, and, you know, I was working 60 hours a week, a lot of the weeks, and 60, 70 hours a week because salary, you know.
Right.
You get paid for 40, but they get their money out of it.
Absolutely.
And I worked for a good guy, and he took care of me, like gave me a company truck and all that, and I made more than I had at that point in time. So it was a good spot, but
right.
yeah,
grueling though.
Grueling. Yeah, I would get home I would leave at 7 a.m, get home at 7 in the evening, and like. Ooh. Little baby, she's pretty much already in bed at that point in time. So I missed those from 6 months old until she was 2. I was gone for a lot of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was hard. It was really hard because I was also, at that point in time, I was training in the evenings mostly because we didn't have Mossberg boxing in Joplin, Missouri, to go at 5 a.m. And yeah, so I missed a lot of that. And then my second girl came along when she was just over 2. And so at that point in time, I was like on my own, had my own business doing flooring and stairs at that point in time. So I was able to make money, and she was born in 2020 as well, which for a lot of people was a slowdown. For me, it was like,
same.
It was not a slowdown because I was doing construction in Northwest Arkansas and a lot of remodel work. So I was I was staying busy, you know what I mean? But I was able to make more with my time, and so to spend less time gone, you know what I mean? So
right.
I was actually able to be home a little bit more with that, but still, like, she was home at nights, and so I kind of relied on her to do most of the, baby tasks. I relied on Jess to be mom, and I just, I would train a lot at night when I got home from work and all that. So yeah, this last 6-7 months of night times being with the baby and being with the girls and like adjusting to that it was hard at first, but it's been like really, really good, and like gotten closer with them than I ever was. And yeah, it's great. And
I mean, once
like
you got the stride.
I got the, it took me a month or two to really like, to like get it down and be like, it's going to be okay. It's not, I'm not going to, things aren't going to explode in the middle of the night.
You never know.
There was definitely some diapers that exploded.
But but you can handle those, dude. Just do a little elbow.
They, and my girls, they love to wrestle me too. So yeah, I definitely get my workout at home too. But,
that's awesome.
Yeah, so that has been a huge adjustment for me, and it's actually, I mean, like I said, for personal growth and just for growth as a man, and just like learning to be okay with this new thing, and to be a full-time dad more than ever before has been awesome. And it's kind of like developed my mentality, you know what I mean? Like I've just able to sort of go with the flow a little more, and I've like calmed myself, and I'm just able to kind of go with things a little more, because it's kind of like the more you're pushed in life, you know what I mean? Like the higher your threshold goes, like the more you have to deal with, the more you can deal with.
Right.
Is the way that I've always experienced things. Like, when I was young and didn't have much going on, things felt like a lot whenever anything would happen. You know what I mean? Like any kind of stressful situation that popped up, it's like, this is it.
My girlfriend broke up with me in high school.
Might
as well been the end of the world.
That's the end of it. Yeah.
Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah, we've all been there.
For 2 weeks, it was bad.
Yeah, everybody's been there. But yeah, like, going through family life has been very informative and promoting of growth, and like I said, it's been huge for my fight career, and just life, man.
Well, there's something about little girls to a very masculine, and in your case a very violent man. I don't have little girls, but I have 2 nieces. And even just being with them, sometimes it's like they just unlock parts of the man that are not unlockable by anybody else. No, nobody else. But they'll say something, or they'll like touch me on the shoulder, or so, something that's like, what the hell was that? You just unlocked something, or you healed something, or I don't know what you did.
Give you those warm fuzzies.
Yeah.
Like for instance, I almost walked into the cage, the weekend before last with paint all over my toenails, but I had to get it off there. You know what I mean?
Right.
The girls had decided they needed to paint my toenails like a week before the fight, and then it was like 3 or 4 nights before the fight. I was like, I got to do something about this. I was like, I can't. I know part of me would, but I'm not going to go out there and do that.
I filmed a lot of walkouts, and I can think of one person. He didn't have toenail paint on, but he had tattoos on his face and his legs and his hands, and you know what I'm talking about. I forget his name, but he's got like the Joker look. He's got like when he closes his eyes and stuff. Boy.
No, I don't think I do know what you're talking about.
The guy is wild. He's super nice.
For Synergy? He fought for Synergy?
Yeah, for Synergy. He's fought a few times. He's super nice, but man, when you see him, you're like, what is this dude?
Yeah. He looks like a fighter, huh?
He looks like and I don't mean this in a bad way at all. He looks like a clown because he's got like the clown paint, but it's tattooed and everything. Yeah. So I think your toenail paint would have been fine.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I would have definitely zoomed in though.
Oh, for sure. And I knew it. And I was like, I remember I told Ryan, I was like, what do you think the guy would feel like if I kicked him in the face with my pretty toes? Because, they
bad.
It was sparkles. It was a different color on every toe. It was extra.
Some high quality work is what you're saying.
No, because it's a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old. And yeah, it was like splotchy. And
yeah, but each toe is different, dude. They put some time into that.
Yeah, and I think this was my 4-year-old's foot, and this was my 6-year-old's foot.
Hilarious.
So it was its own thing for sure. And Ryan saw the toes. And
bro, he's got a girl. Surely he's had his toenails painted.
Can you see Ryan with painted toenails? I mean, 100%. Maybe it's happened.
He's not coming to the gym. I mean, it's from the hours of 6 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Right. He wouldn't show you for sure.
No.
I can't remember what he said, but he's like, basically, like, you can't do that.
Yes, coach.
Yeah. Yes, like, all right. I guess I'll take it off. Right. But yeah, man. Well, how have you found your time working with Synergy? Because you've been cage side and ring side for a few of my events now.
Several about.
Were you there for the Davey? You were there for the Davey Peter fight. My first one was Synergy.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I've been there since Synergy 6 or 7, something like that.
Been there for all of my fights with them then.
Mm-hmm. Boxing fight, the kickboxing,
the Muay Thai with Cody.
That you got disqualified, but I have the footage to prove that you didn't do. He said you came down with the elbow like this. I don't think that might have been Cody. That was was it a Muay Thai fight?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever gotten disqualified.
Remember, it was at Synergy. You were throwing elbows and you cut the dude.
Oh no, I didn't get disqualified. They ended the fight right then, and everybody was very confused, and I got booed by like 1,000 people.
But you got the win.
Yeah, I got the win.
Okay.
But no, I did not come down. It was a straight in.
That's what they were saying.
Yeah,
and I was like, well, I got the footage. So
they're crazy.
I watched it.
Whoever they are.
Yeah.
No, I gave him just a straight right there, and he ducked right into it and split his. Yeah, I'm glad they stopped that fight, and they should have stopped this last one at the end, in between the second and third round.
Crazy dude.
But that Zach Cunningham's tough cat. I'll give him that. Like he's a tough dude. He took all that and he was ready to keep going.
Yeah,
I was messaging on Instagram after the fight, and he was like, "Oh yeah, dude, I would have kept going the whole fight." I was like, "I know you would have. You probably shouldn't have."
Right.
But
Did you get an update after the fight? Like days after, like
he's doing fine as far as I know. Yeah. That night he went to the hospital and broken orbital and nose, or broken eye socket and nose is what I was told. Yeah.
Any pictures like days after?
He sent me a picture, and Ryan had a picture of him. Yeah. It was rough.
Oh, because that night was bad.
Yeah. And he had, I think he said he had like 7 or 8 stitches of like
no
there.
Way.
And
you scarred him up.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
That's kind of badass.
In some ways, I wish that kind of thing didn't happen, but it's better him than me. You know what I mean?
Part of it.
Like I've been there. You know, you were there when Davey split. I had 13 stitches here and won the fight. But it's part of it. You know, I'd rather not break somebody's orbital, but if that's what it takes to get him to throw in the towel, you know, which I'd never seen that before.
I haven't either.
But yeah, in an MMA fight, I've never seen a corner throw in the towel.
It was the right move.
Yeah, it was the right move. And like I said, I was really surprised that the doctor let him go.
I was too.
His eye was closed.
I've seen way worse, and they stopped it. Or I've seen way less worse, and they've stopped it. Yeah. And then when he came out, he was like, he's good to go. Like, oh, my God.
Right, yeah. That was I felt like in the first round, you know, it had been almost 3 years since my last MMA fight for that one. So there was a little bit of, like, nerves, I guess, or anticipation.
And you were heavier, too, weren't you?
It was 170.
This 170.
But I weighed, I was 190 when I walked in the cage.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I put on some weight for this one.
Yeah. You look thick, like strong.
Yeah, because I cut the weight more correctly. You know, like I've learned, that was my 23rd fight total, my 11th pro fight. So I've kind of learned over time the better ways to cut weight. And I've YouTube, like you said, I've been able to learn from a lot of YouTube videos of guys that know what they're doing, and that in that sense of like, how to cut the water, how to cut the salts and the carbs, and other people in my life too, like TJ Britton and Frank Byers, like they taught me initially a lot of that, and then I kind of have adapted it as I've gotten bigger and gained weight. Because like when I first started fighting 7 years ago, I was probably like 175, 178 in shape. Now I'm like 192 in shape, so I have to cut another 15 pounds
if you want to stay at that level
at 170. Yeah, and which for now 170 is the weight, but there'll be a day in a couple of years probably where I won't be able to anymore, because like I've been gaining 2 or 3 pounds every year. So if I keep on that trend, which I hope to, like I've been getting back more into lifting and strength and conditioning side more heavily. Like,
what's the next weight class?
85.
185. Okay,
Yeah,
so 10
it's
pounds up.
big boys in 185. You know, they're guys that weigh
dropping from 220,
210, 220. Yeah. And so for me, you know, like I said, top shape, I'm like 192, 190. And
you feel good.
Yeah, really fast, strong. Right. On a normal day, I'm like 195 usually, and I still feel really good at that weight. And then if I'm a little more lackadaisical with my diet or whatever, 200. I get up to like 205 sometimes. So I rarely go above 200 anymore. I used to be less disciplined, and I used to get up to like 210 a lot, even though I was, you know, when I was in shape, I was lighter. But, you know, just I like food.
No doubt. Well, and you're training so hard, so I mean, you have to replenish those calories.
Right. And it was just a lack of discipline, though, too. A lot of that, you know, like. Well,
and like you said, you were just starting out too.
Right.
So you got to learn the techniques and stuff. Like dropping weight, specifically for fighting, that's a technique. That's an art. Yeah. That's not just I'm going to fast for a few days. You got to be able to train at your highest level and drop the weight at the same time.
Right.
That's very difficult.
It is. Yeah.
I don't do it.
Well,
I go this way.
Right. No, it's a timing thing. Obviously, for most of it, it's like a timing for your water load, for pushing your water. Like to go through this last weight cut and water load, like I weighed in on Thursday at noon. So I think Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Drop it down. Keep going. Right there.
Okay.
Perfect.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I was pushing a lot of water. So I think I generally, when I'm in camp, I drink like at least a gallon of water because I sweat at work
per day.
Yeah.
Are you doing like Element or any sort of like
electrolytes? So I use some different like just kind of whatever comes across. So my brother's brand, Earth Labs, which is another one.
That's his brand?
So he's got.
What a great logo, by the way.
Yeah.
I love that logo.
They have an office in Pineville, and he does nutrition. He does. He helps with. I mean, he deals a lot with people that have like sicknesses or illnesses or like chronic disease and stuff. And so he has
like holistic approaches.
Yes, holistic approach to that. But he's also got Earth Labs, and Primal DNA is also his other brand, and that's sort of the more geared towards sports or like performance
athletics
side. And he's really only got a couple things with that he does because he's mostly focused on healing people.
This is your brother?
My brother Dallas.
Is he older?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm the youngest of all my siblings. I've got my oldest brother is Josh. I've got all half siblings. Oldest brother is Josh, and then my younger brother is Dallas, and they're about the same age. They're both 36. They're about to be 37.
You refer to him as your younger brother.
Younger than my older, right. The younger of the older. They're only like 3 months apart. You know what I mean? So, and then my sister is 33, about to be 34. But yeah, so Josh, Dallas, and Casey, my sister. So yeah, Dallas he does that, and he's been doing it for like 10 years now, and he's had good success, like done really well, helped a lot of people.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, people come to him after they've been through the ringer with the medical side of things a lot of times, and he gives them another option, you know what I mean? And so when it comes to any sort of things I'm dealing with, I go to him or my great uncle, who is also in the same office, who was a chiropractor for years and is also a natural doctor, naturopath, and he's been doing it for like 50 years. So he's OG. Like,
he's the one that moves stuff with his mind.
He probably could. I've never seen that.
Okay, Ryan told me a story. I don't remember who it was, but he said he moved stuff with his mind.
That's Doc Smith. Ryan worked with all them.
Okay.
Yeah, he's Dr. Norman Smith. He's he's 79 and he looks like he's in his 60s. You know what I mean? Like he broke his leg like 6 or 7 years ago and was back walking within a month. Shattered his femur. Oh. And was walking within a month as like a 73-year-old man.
Unheard of.
Yeah, and without
what
just recovered.
Doing primal workouts?
Just doing like, I mean, his own protocol basically. I mean, he was in the hospital for a certain amount of time, but I don't know exactly what he did, but he did it the natural way.
Like meditating or like, what are we talking about here? BPC one, is he peptiding it up? Like
he's been into some peptides. Okay. But mostly like, just natural, like, you know, supplements, eating. He eats
that probably helps a lot.
Super clean and has for a long time.
Right.
Staying active. Like I said, he still works full days at 78, 79 years old. So he's, and he was a martial artist in his younger years and everything. And he was in the Marines and everything. So he's super, super cool dude. But like, he was in Vietnam, you know what I mean? And you would never guess it from having talked to him, but yeah, he's a hardcore dude at the same time.
Yeah, he sounds hardcore. No wonder he healed up in 2 weeks.
And I mean, to be at that age, and I mean, I can't imagine.
Because that's a game over for some people.
Yeah, I can't imagine breaking my femur and then walking.
No, not just breaking it, shattering it.
I mean, I can't imagine.
What is it? What do you? I wouldn't even know what to do.
Right. Yeah, and so that's my Lifestyle Wellness Center, which they're also on the shirt. They're one of my. That's where I go. They just provide me mostly with any sort of, like, you know, when I've got my back or, you know, whatever might be hurting, they help me out with all that, and then help me out with nutrition protocols or supplements and stuff like that. So I take Dallas's. He's got like some different supplements I take, but one of them is a fulvic and humic acid. So it's essentially just minerals that are from the earth. It's got like 84 different trace minerals and stuff like that. Yeah. So that's one thing I take pretty consistently.
You think it helps?
As far as, like for hydration, yeah.
Oh, right, yeah.
I put that in my water, like it's in here right now. But yeah, on top of that, like, you know, he also makes I forget what it's called, nitric oxide something, but it's essentially like L-arginine and L-proline and, you know, just a few things like that help you to keep your blood flow going and everything. Yeah. So that's huge for me is, blood flow and hydration. Yeah, like those are two of the main keys in keeping your inflammation down. Right. I take a lot of turmeric and stuff like that keeps the inflammation down. Because, when you're training a lot and when you're working with your hands like I do, like, you're going to end up sore.
A lot of wear and tear.
Yeah, you're going to end up sore and you're going to end up with something going on. Like, I've rarely had any fights where there wasn't something that was hurting. Oh, of course. You know, at one point in the camp, or even the night that I walked in there. But we were talking about the weight cut, so So
the supplements are
the water load. So I go from a gallon a day, gallon and a quarter. Like during the summer, I might be doing a little bit more than that just because I'm sweating so much. And I think like Friday, I drank a gallon and a half to a gallon and 3/4, and then Saturday and Sunday, I was over 2 gallons. Oh wow. And so I kind of do it based on how much weight I need to cut. So I weighed at that point in time, you know, I was weighing in on Thursday. And so this was, I think on Saturday, I weighed like 188, 187. So I knew I needed to cut 16, 17, 18 pounds. So that's about how much water I drank, was that much water.
That seems like a lot of weight.
It's quite a bit. I've done more. I've done 22 from Monday to Friday.
Oh my gosh.
And that was brutal.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to do that again.
No.
It was hard. And like, I think I've done about that much twice. And for the Cody Carrillo fight, I cut that much weight and I felt it. Like during the fight, I knew that I had cut too hard. Really? My performance reflected it too. Like I should have been able to, in my opinion, I should have had him out of there in like 2 rounds, but we went all 5. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. Like
it's a learning experience.
Yes, it was a learning experience. But yeah, dude, like for that cut, I did really well. I usually cut almost all my weight and then I go to sleep pretty much right on weight usually the night before. So if I'm on Thursday night, if I'm weighing in on Friday, I go to bed within a few pounds, within 2 or 3 pounds of whatever I need to weigh in at. And so I woke up on Friday and I was like 172, and I had to be 171 or a little bit under that. And that was the max, and I spent like an hour and a half in a hot bath to cut that 1 pound, and I was throwing up and like having tremors, and like, it was brutal. And then I had to go
and you still have to go fight,
and I had to fight the next day. And
do you IV or anything? I know, like,
I've never done that. I've had people tell me I should, but no, I'm not a fan of needles, but I'm not so much not a fan of needles that I wouldn't do it. You know what I mean? Like, I just have never, I remember Brian Jones one time offered that as an option because he knew somebody that could do that. But yeah, I've never just had it in front of me to do. Yeah. And never thought to sort it out or seek it out. You know what I mean?
I feel like it's so simple of a technique. It's like it happened. People do IVs all the time.
Yeah.
It's like nurse 101 type stuff.
Yeah.
So
and that's definitely
feel comfortable with somebody doing it.
Yeah. It's definitely something that I should probably look into, especially as I continue to cut to 170. Like, it's not getting any easier. I'm just getting better at it. You know what I mean? So for this last one, it went pretty well. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard still and still sucks, especially, but for this one, like, it was really only hard. Like, I really had a tough Wednesday and Thursday morning. So
and you fought on Friday.
Right. Weighed in on Thursday at noon, and then I fought on Friday. So, like,
if it's going to be tough, like those 2 days,
36 hours is not a horrible amount of time.
Yeah.
But I've had it to where it was the whole week. It was,
and you're still training.
And I was still training. Yeah. Have to run.
Yeah.
Have to train hard to get the weight off. You know what I mean? Like, you got to push the water through your system. So you got to sweat out all that weight. All that 22 pounds has to go through my system one way or another. And your kidneys, pissing, it's only going to do so much.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's only so much you can do that way. So
right.
I'm a heavy sweater, luckily. Like,
that's good.
I know I can rely on myself sweating. If I'm hydrated, I could sweat out 8 pounds in a workout if I want to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But
like utilizing a sauna too. I mean,
I do that as well. Yeah. I did that so for this cut on Wednesday, I was in the sauna at like 2 p.m. or something like that. And at that point, it was just to allow me to move through that 3 pounds of water or whatever, so I could still have a little bit of water that day and I could eat. You know what I mean?
Oh, I see.
Was it Wednesday? No, it was Tuesday that I got on the sauna that time.
Man, it'll drain you though. That's the thing.
Yeah, and
I do 20 minutes and I'm ready to go to bed.
Yeah,
I'm ready to shower and lay down.
Yeah, I had done that morning workout at 5, and I think I had pushed out like 5 pounds that morning. And so then I'm just kind of existing for the rest of the day.
You pushed out 5 pounds in the morning?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Of water. And so I'm just existing and kind of eating, minimally.
Right.
For that little bit of time. And then I went back and, like I said, I got in the sauna at like 1 or 2 and then another 3 or so pounds. And that really, like I said, pushed out a little extra water, allowed me to eat a little bit for that day because I still got 48 hours or whatever until I weigh in at that point, and I've still got to work out 2 or 3 times until at that point in time. So yeah, it's a struggle.
I don't think there's another sport
that wrestling and fighting.
Well, I mean, like within. I mean, I feel like that's within the martial art, the MMA
combat
type
sports,
stuff. But like NFL players don't go through this sort of torture, right? Right? I mean, or NBAs or.
I wish that it was not a thing, what I mean? Like, I wish everybody, because like I said, when I'm in shape, I'm 190-ish. If I could just fight at 185 and all the other guys that were fighting at 185 were 190, 195, then it'd be great. And I still don't feel like it is that big of a disadvantage for me, because if we both weigh 185, like if I were to fight at 185, I usually weigh around 195 or so when I step into the ring or the cage. So, if a guy's got 10 pounds on me, I don't feel like that's that big of a deal. But there are guys that are getting back up to 215, 220. You know what I mean? So
that's serious.
They've got some weight at that point. You got 25 pounds on me, and especially if we're in MMA, if we're grappling, that can be a pretty big difference.
Absolutely.
The caveat is that they've drained themselves pretty severely to get down to that weight, and
it's a bigger drop.
I was not able. I didn't have to at that point in time. It's pretty easy to get to 185.
So it kind of does like equal out like
right
over
and
time.
then for me, I'd rather be faster.
Yeah.
You know, like power is really good, strength is good.
Right.
I'd rather be faster than my opponent than anything. Which,
and your strengths, you're not really grappling. You're not relying on grappling nearly as much as you're striking.
right.
You're kicking your elbows.
Right.
Which is all speed.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely. I'm more of a striker, I guess, but I'm
not saying you can't grapple.
I can definitely grapple.
No,
and,
not saying
and the least people who think I can't grapple
Yeah.
is the better. And I felt like I showed
He can't grapple. Don't try to take him down.
I showed some of that last fight, but you know, I think like I said, that first round was kind of, I felt like it was not a good showing of myself, but
You used 3 years, right?
yeah, 3 years before that, and he was coming out hot. You know what I mean? He came in, he was trying to get
His long, his arms.
big boy, yeah. And he was really trying to weigh on me and wear on me, and it got to a point where after he first took me down, I think he took me down twice in the first round, and after the first takedown, I realized that on the ground I was fine. You know what I mean? Like there was nothing he was going to do to me that was going to be any problems. So honestly, at that point, I was just letting him wear himself out.
Yeah.
Like, sounds dumb to say because you probably shouldn't let somebody just lay on you a little bit. And he did hit me one time with a decent shot, but like that was part of my plan, was that I knew this was his first pro fight, which, you know, I've fought a lot of veterans and a lot of phenoms. And so it was kind of weird for me to go back to fighting a debut in my 11th fight. But, you know, they needed somebody to step up on 4 weeks notice or whatever it was. So I did. But I knew that 5-minute rounds was not going to go well for him probably. Right. And especially if I was able to wear him down a little bit. Well,
like you said, let him do it himself.
Yeah, let him wear himself down a little bit. And yeah, after that first takedown, I was like, okay, this is not the worst thing that's going to happen to me at this point in time. So I wasn't as concerned with it. I should have been more concerned. You should always, you know, stay where your strengths are. But yeah, so then after when we got up at the end of the first round, you know, I hopped up real quick, and I could just kind of feel that he was dragging when he got up. And I went up to the corner, and Ryan was like, "Where's your spacing, man?" He's like, "Where's your distance?" And I was like, "Yeah, I know." You know, I was just kind of thinking in my head, like, "Yeah, that was stupid. I shouldn't have let myself get so close to him." I was kind of reaching with the right hand to catch him with it. And yeah, so him and Jimmy Roach were both just like, you know, keep your distance, and you know, just stay where you want to stay. And so that's what I did in the second round. And he got into the clinch again with me in the second round, but like you said, clinching with me is not the best idea.
I would not recommend it.
Yeah, it's not the best idea, because you can think whatever you want to think, but that's like probably my strongest suit is in the clinch. And if I'm allowed to throw elbows, it's not a good thing for anybody that's in there with me. And
they're so deceiving. Like even I was watching the footage back, and it's like your arm doesn't really move that far. No, but it does maximum damage.
Well, yeah, and yeah, I mean, it's the hardest
down,
point of your body. You know what I mean? And if you're able to catch them, especially just with that point, it's a bad deal. And I've spent a lot of time perfecting that technique. You know what I mean? Of throwing elbows and in the clinch, being able to get there, to get to where I want to throw a strong elbow. And even if you got me up against the cage, it doesn't matter where we are. I'm gonna catch you with something. Oh yeah. And
you've clinched me a few times sparring. Yeah. And you haven't killed me, but you've shown me. You've like shown me the knee, and I'm like, wow, that would really suck. Yeah. I would be dead right now.
Yeah. Knees are no fun either, man.
The clinch just has so much control. Like it's deceiving how much control you think. Like if someone were to get you there, right, and just to push you around and
and to be there's a lot of control, and to be fluid.
And you're pretty safe.
I try. Yeah. Well, right? Yeah, because there's a lot, like you said, there's a lot of control. There's a lot of little aspects of the clinch, to where after training so many times, you get to where you can just feel when they're getting ready to move. Sure. Like I've got contact with your limbs. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I can feel when you're trying to pull this way. Yeah. When you're trying to push, and it gets to where like I can kind of read you like a book without looking at you. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so then the goal is to just free your mind in that moment and just open it up, make the openings, and let loose whenever it happens. And I see a lot of guys in MMA, even at the higher level, like you can tell that they're
They want something.
They're just not. Yeah, they're looking specifically for one thing or another,
rather than what's there.
Than what they're seeing. Yeah, and a lot of guys aren't looking for elbows when they're there. Like, they're there a lot more than people think, and especially in MMA, you know, like Muay Thai guys and everything. Obviously, are going to throw a lot of elbows, but you see a lot of guys that are very good strikers, but when they're getting into that clinch zone, they're still thinking boxing. Knees obviously are great, but like boxing is great in the clinch, but your elbows are right there. You know what I mean? And there's nothing that hurts worse than getting smoked, you know, with an elbow right across your dome.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Don't want to find out, but I think the elbows are, like, for me, they're easier to throw than punches because there's so much energy, you know, going this far and everything. But you know, I just throw up a couple elbows, and then they create space or whatever, you know, whatever that happens.
You're maximizing your torque within a shorter range.
Right.
So like I'm throwing full, you can still use your hips to throw the elbow. I'm still throwing full torque into it, and I'm able to do that right here. I can't throw a full torque punch right here. You know what I mean? Right. And even like maybe an uppercut, you can get a nice shot in, but it's just you're able to maximize your striking power right there. Yeah, and it's like a knife. You know what I mean? It's like you're hitting somebody with a knife. Oh
yeah, I feel like it's a samurai sword. I mean, when you hit what's his nuts in the face, the one that cracked, you know, the one that, because I can hear it crack on camera. Yeah. You can hear like this weird high pitched like cracking sound. Oh boy. Yeah, but it doesn't look like that should happen because it was just, you know, real quick. I'm gonna hit this mic, but and he didn't really react like what you would think a person that's got their orbital bone, you know, busted.
Like I said,
he kept fighting.
A tough cat, and he kept going. And I could tell in the third round when I was jabbing him, it felt soft. You know what I mean? Which is not. I didn't. At that point, I was like, I'm just gonna kick him in the legs a lot and jab him.
You could see yourself backing off.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna let him get a hold of me because at this point, like he's done. You know what I mean? Like I just want.
It's just time.
Somebody finish this fight, like.
And not me.
Yeah, like I don't. And Ryan, I could hear Ryan in the corner, like, "Where's your right hand?" And I'm like, I'm sticking him with the jab every time I throw it. You know what I mean? And like, eventually, the doctor or the ref or somebody's gonna stop this fight. And the corner did the right thing and stopped it. So it was. Like I said, that was kind of tough. Yeah. You know, went in the back and he was throwing up in the trash can and everything because, you know, he was in shock. Your body's in shock at that point. Right. Like I cracked my orbital in high school when I lived in Wyoming, and it wasn't nearly as bad as that. Like, it wasn't fully fractured or anything. And I was throwing up like crazy
because of the pain.
Yeah. Well, the shock, your body goes into shock. Yeah. I mean, hardest bone in your body. You know what I mean?
Is it?
Your orbital bone, I think, is the hardest bone in your body. What? So it's. That and your elbow, I think, are like top two. So it's that's hard. It's a lot of pain, dude. Yeah. Like I remember when mine happened, we were messing around in the wrestling room in Green River High School in Wyoming, and we were playing dodgeball and wrestling around during weights class, and this dude got he got like hip tossed, and I'm like reaching down for a dodgeball, and I look up, and I just see his heel.
Oh no!
Crack. And dude, just instantly, I saw triple vision. I saw 3 of him just right away. Oh, and
not a good sign.
No, yeah, and I was immediately like, you know, oh crap, I'm done playing at this point. You know, I'm like, I'm done with that for the day. Time out. Yeah, I went and sat down on some rolled up wrestling mats and just kind of chilled for a while. And I tried to just ride it out until the end of because my weights class was at the end of the day. So I just rode it out, dude, and then. Probably for 20 minutes I was sitting on those mats and just severe pain. You know what I mean? So I know that dude was in a lot of pain.
You weren't getting punched in the face.
I know I wasn't getting punched in the face afterwards. Yeah, and dude, it was rough. You know what I mean? And I got up to go back to the locker room to change back into my normal clothes, and then go home. But I got to the locker room and just. Dude, just everywhere. That's wild. Blowing chunks like crazy. Had to go to the hospital and like get X-rayed and everything. Yeah, it was.
And what can you do with that? Like
time to heal.
You can't put like a cast on.
You could potentially have to have surgery and have
reconstructive.
Which I didn't, and I guess he didn't either, which is good. Yeah, I'm glad that he didn't have to have a reconstructive surgery on his orbital bone because that's brutal. Yeah. But yeah, dude, like it took me. I think that was in March or maybe it was in April, And I went to a football camp at the University of Wyoming in June, and I still saw double when I looked like too much this way.
So you must have got hit in the eye more than...
Yeah, I mean, like I said,
or at least
dude's
a little bit.
Dude's heel just directly right there. And so it damaged some of the musculature and everything that controls your eye movement.
Oh, right.
And so, yeah, if I tried to look, 30 degrees past my nose, I was seeing double immediately. And I saw double, like, anywhere I looked for a week or two.
Oh, my God. That would make you dizzy.
Yeah, for sure. And then, like I said, it kind of slowly, like, I could look farther and farther to the right without having that happen until it was like 3 or 4 months before I really was, like, back to normal.
Yeah.
And there was sensitivity for a long time. Like
as far as touch or whatever.
Yeah, like if I shaved this side of my face on my mustache, it would still, like, I would feel it up here for probably a couple of years.
Oh.
So
I mean, they have like I forget what they're called. I think they're called faucets or fascia or focals, or it starts with an F. The little holes in your skull.
Yeah.
There's like 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, something like that. But that's where the blood vessels and the nerves come out of. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure there's one pretty close.
That's
in
probably
this
what was
area.
happening.
Oh, no doubt.
It was just trying to shave my little teenager mustache. It was
You're like, fuck it, let it grow.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it really would, like, sting bad.
Oh.
And so I pray for Zach to have a quick recovery, because it can be a long road from something like that. So his first pro fight, he said he's not done, which is, commend him.
I thought he did great.
Yeah, he's got all the heart, and, like, he fights well. So, get back in it and he'll be able to do it more. I don't know how old he is. I think he's close to my age. But
how old are you?
31. I just turned 31 in April. So yeah, he's got a career in it if he wants to.
Oh, sure. I mean? He's got a great prototype fighter body. I thought he moved well.
Arms,
I thought he did great. I mean, obviously I was, being a camera guy for Synergy, I'm trying not to be biased, but
you said you were nervous.
I was a little bit like, please, Zerek, please. And I was rooting against him. But by the end of it, I thought, dude, I respected the guy.
Yeah.
For staying in there, for, he never went, bitched to the ref or nothing, like, oh, he's doing elbow. Like, he did not. He just kept fighting. So I was like, wow, good on you. So by the end of it, I was a fan of,
for sure.
Obviously,
love
Team Zerek, but
I
was more of a fan of his. Like, okay, cool. Like,
I'd love to see him fight again.
Yeah,
obviously.
I would too.
I want to see him continue to do his thing.
I would too.
And, like, with any guy that I've shared the cage or the ring with, like, there's all respect for anybody who goes in there and puts it on the line like that. You know what I mean?
Doubt.
Like, it's not for everybody, and it's a hard thing to do, and it can be like, it can be a challenging thing even the night of sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, you're just like, why am I here? So, sometimes. And then there's other times where it's like, heck yeah, let's do this. You know what I mean? For me,
ups and downs.
I've been able to replicate a headspace for the most part that works for me in most of my fights. I think that's one of the things, like, they talk about the mental side of the game, like,
huge.
It's being able to get yourself where you need to be and on the night of, because your body doesn't always feel great, and sometimes training camp went like crap. You know what I mean? And sometimes you don't feel well. Like, I've walked into, let's say, a boxing match that I could barely walk that week. My back was so bad, like, dude, it was like, if I would straighten up from putting on my shoes, I would have a spasm. And, like, still had to go in there and fight. Yeah. Because sold a bunch of tickets to all my friends and family, and everybody's expecting you to go out there and do it.
Yeah, you got a job to do.
I thought I won. They called a draw on that one, but I thought I did plenty to win. But yeah, dude, it's not always going to be ideal, and that's like a lesson you can learn in life. Like, how often are things ideal? You know what I mean? Like, not very often. Yeah, not very often. But you still got to go out there and do it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not always as dire as fisticuffs with somebody, but
that's just the extreme example, though.
Right. But it's indicative of life. You know what I mean? Like, this is what we're all fighters. I mean, you know what I mean? And, like, everybody's got to struggle, and the main thing is to keep pushing and to keep being that dog. You know what I mean? Like, and that's one thing I've really learned a lot from my fight career, is just to try and do 100% at everything. You know what I mean? Like, not always, you're not always there. You're not always going to be doing 100%, but try, you know what I mean? Like, go out there, give your best effort, and mean, yeah, try and learn, try and grow.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's really what it's all about for all of us. I think if you're trying to live this life, which you have to, you know, do it the best you can. You know what I mean? Like it's the only way to do it.
And if your best is 75%
that day, yeah, that's what you got.
You better do it 100%, you know,
100%
of the 70.
That.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Like I said, 'cause some days you walk in there and you're just like, well, sometimes in the warm up, even in the back, you're like, oh, things are not quite clicking the way they usually do, but we're gonna go out there and do it. Yeah. And I've had times where I've warmed up in the back and I kind of felt off, and then had one of the best, you know, you know, 40-second knockout, and like, oh, okay, well, great, let's go.
Yeah,
let's go.
I mean, no matter what happens until the cage door is locked, who knows? Right. You know, who knows? Maybe everything, like you said, everything synchronizes up. Yeah. I don't like the. I thought about this a lot of like people saying like, oh, I could have done better. I honestly don't believe people could do better. I think you always kind of do the best that you possibly can do in any situation. You look back with a clearer mind and like, oh, I could have trained longer. It's like, well, during that time, that's what you understood. That's where you were developmentally. So in a way, you kind of did the best you could. Now take that and adapt it to, you know, going forward, because I think people get lost back in the past. Oh, I could have done better. I could have done more. I could have done this. Like, it's different times.
Take those lessons.
Yeah, you were a different person. You were in a different place during that time. Take those lessons. Don't get caught up in the past. Don't run the simulation loop a million times. Run it a few times. It's fine.
I've been guilty of that one for sure.
Oh, I think we all have been, because once you have the data and the knowledge and the information, of course you apply it to the past. Yeah. Think, oh damn, I should have bought Bitcoin in 2011 or whatever. You know what I mean? And it's like, hey, calm down. You should have.
You should have bought too much.
We should have. Oh, we all should have. But just not getting caught in the past and just moving forward, like you said.
Yeah, it's the only place you can go. Yeah, man.
There is no going backwards, only forwards.
Yep.
A good mentor of mine once, he's a pastor, and he was doing some marriage counseling, and this person said something like, oh, don't worry, we'll just get divorced and I'll go back to being single. And he says, oh, no.
You're not going to go back. You're going to go forward into being single
You're going to go forward and to be a divorcee. Yeah. Like, you're not single. You are a divorced person.
Yeah, like I said, scary thought.
Yeah. But it just illuminates the example that you never go back. You always go forward. Yeah. I thought about going back.
Nothing's ever the same.
No, never. And you're not the same.
Yeah, there's times in life where like, man, if I could just... you know, the good old days, or you know, if I could, I can't, you know. Yeah.
No, they're gone.
No way.
Yeah. No. I mean,
you wouldn't even really, with who you are now, you wouldn't even really. No. You wouldn't be who you were, but you wouldn't even really enjoy it in the same way that you did at that point in time. You know?
No, but that's why you should be in the present moment. Yeah. Because that's all we have, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So you've mentioned some characters I'd love to talk about. Your dad is a very interesting character.
But you've heard some of the legend.
I have heard some of the legend. Yeah. And then like I've not heard much about your story, but Ryan's mentioned, you know, a little story here or there, little anecdotes or whatever. Okay. And but let's go back to the beginning. Like, where did you start training martial arts? Where'd you grow up?
Yeah. So I grew up mostly in and around Northwest Arkansas. Went to school in like Rogers in preschool and kindergarten, and then did a lot of my schooling up until 8th grade in Bentonville. Okay. Which was a much different place at that point in time. You know, you've been down there, I'm sure. It's crazy compared to what it used to be.
What, just quieter, smaller?
Yeah, like where you've been down to Pinnacle Mall and all that.
Oh, yeah.
That was cow fields. I used to live next to it. It was like 600 acres of cow fields when I was a kid. But yeah, so I'm from Northwest Arkansas originally. My parents were divorced when I was 2. So I've never known a one parent or, you know, a double parent household. So it's always kind of been that two-sided life to some degree. Right. I lived with my mom during the weekdays and only went to my dad every other weekend whenever I was, you know, from 3 until 8. And then I moved in with my dad before I turned 9 and lived with him until I think I was 17 when I moved out.
Was that your choice?
Well, no. So my mom was going through an abusive relationship with her husband at the time, and essentially just needed to get away. Yeah. And so did I. And so she started over in Oklahoma City and just kind of knew that she shouldn't take me with her to do this. And so my dad was still living in Bentonville at the time. And, so I went with him. Started training with him as early as I can remember, you know what I mean? Like in an informal setting. My dad was a competitive martial artist, in full contact karate, kickboxing, judo, jiu-jitsu. He's got 5 different black belts, and he's 8th degree black belt in Shito-ryu karate, I believe is what it is. It's Okinawan style of karate. He's I think he might be the highest remaining alive person in that specific school that he was with at that point in time. But yeah, so he was international champ a couple times in full contact karate, and had a really good career as a kickboxer. And
so is he from Northwest Arkansas?
He's from Lawton, Oklahoma.
Okay, so the Midwest.
Yeah, from basically the Midwest area. Lawton's a military town. It's a tough town.
Okay.
And he grew up. He's essentially mostly deaf, half deaf. So he grew up that way, and so he got made fun of a lot. You know what I mean? As a kid, growing up in the 70s, and little blonde boy, you know, growing up in Lawton, Oklahoma, which is a rough town, a lot of military folks. He got into a lot of scraps growing up, and his uncle was a black belt in Shotokan karate, and combat sports go back like generations in my family. His grandpa was a catch-as-catch-can wrestler. He was a carny wrestler and boxer back in the day, like in the early 1900s.
It's in your genetics, dude.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's in everybody's genetics, but it's just, you know, I mean, like, you had a fighter in your family somewhere back. That's why you're still alive. Everybody had somebody who was a warrior. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think there's very many people that don't have a real lineage of warriorhood somewhere.
Right.
You wouldn't be lineage. Here. Yeah, you wouldn't be here. Right. But yeah, it's been a continual thing for like 100 years in my family.
That's
on both sides too. My mom's side of the family is a lot of martial artists as well. So yeah, I learned from him. He learned from my great uncle. He learned from his grandpa. Like I said, catch wrestling, which is European. Do you know much about catch wrestling?
No, I mean, I've heard the term a lot, but
catch-as-catch-can wrestling. It's essentially like the passing down of kind of what the knights did back in the day. And it's grappling from Europe.
It's not Greek style, Greco-Roman. Would that be a different?
I'm sure it would be delineated from that lineage, you know. But it was something that was really made popular in like the 1800s and the 1900s, and really came a lot of your jiu-jitsu and stuff even comes from some of those guys having gone over to Japan and sort of cross-pollinating skills and everything like that. But yeah, so he was essentially like a master in catch wrestling.
This is your uncle?
My great-grandpa was. So that was on my dad's side. And there was boxers as well, like his grandpa as well was a Golden Glove champ in the Navy during World War II. And so I mean, it's a long history of combat athletes in my family. And
no doubt.
Like on my mom's side, my uncle Jason is a black belt in jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, really? And he trains down in Inferno in Northwest Arkansas a lot. He
good gym.
Yeah, it's a good gym, especially for grappling. I go down there intermittently, you know. I'll go down 4 or 5 times a year and get some good rounds in, and sometimes I go in more whenever I have a camp coming up. I should have gone in more for this last one, but I just never had the chance to, or never took the chance to. But yeah, so I grappled with him as a young age, and then like his mom, my grandma, she was a black belt in karate back in the day.
Wow.
So yeah, it's in us for sure.
Such a dangerous family.
Yeah, I guess, but we're all sweethearts.
Be really nice at the barbecue.
We're all sweethearts.
Well, that tends to happen with martial arts.
Yeah. But yeah, so I grew up training with my dad. He's, like I said, maybe the most knowledgeable martial artist I've ever known, unbiasedly. You know what I mean? Like he knows about pretty much every aspect of different martial arts, and so he's instilled a lot into me. So yeah, I trained with him a lot, just in his house. He lived in Orlando building Disney World whenever I was like 4, 5, and 6. So I would go down there and visit, and go train at the dojo that he was one of the teachers at. So like my summers during that age, I was at that dojo. It was like a daycare as well.
Right, yeah,
so me and my stepbrother and stepsister, we were down there all day long during the summer days. I think it was like from 8 until 3 or something at the karate dojo. So we were, learning katas and doing karate and also just hanging out over there. Yeah. So doing that, and then like I said, whenever I moved in with my dad at that point in time, I'd kind of been a mama's boy because lived with my mom. And I was the only kid that lived at that house because I have all half brothers and sisters. Right. So my brother Dallas lived with his mom, and then my other brother and sister lived with their dad. So it was just me at home with my mom. So I was the baby too. You know what I mean? Yeah. So she kind of babied me a little bit. So when I moved in with my dad, it was like he put the hammer down, kind of, you know what I mean? Like he worked that baby out of me, and we wrestled a lot and like sparred a lot and every night, type of thing.
Were you doing any of that? I mean, I guess you were doing it a little bit before.
Yeah, no, I grew up like,
so that wasn't like a new thing.
I had my older brothers, and then I had a stepbrother who was close to my age. He was a year older than me, so we always wrestled a lot. Yeah. Terry, which he trains down in Fayetteville at Diamond State, which is I think I've heard Daniel, of it. Big Dan's gym down there in Fayetteville. Okay. But yeah, so I grew up wrestling and fighting with the brothers and sisters.
But he just took it to a new level.
Right, yeah. None of them ever really competed or anything. My sister is a straight scrapper and spent most of her time as a juvenile in jail because she would get in scraps all the time in juvie. So yeah, it's not hard for me to get into a scrap. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that far for me mentally to go from sitting here chatting with you to fighting somebody.
Yeah. Not me. Don't fight me.
Yeah. But yeah, so I moved in with my dad. He, I think, saw some of that sort of, softness or being babied. And he also saw that, like, I was struggling with my mom moving states and just kind of a little bit of abandonment with some of that and everything. So,
well, the circumstance alone.
Yeah. It was, and like I said, she was in an abusive relationship, and I was exposed to some of that. Luckily, like not too much, but I was exposed to some of that stuff. And so I, Dad, we were just buds, dude, because he had just gone through a divorce as well whenever I moved in with him. So it was just me and him. You know, we just
good for each other.
Yeah, it was good. Like, it was good for him, and I know it was good for me. We just hung out all the time. Like I said, I would go to jobs with him a lot. Because that's when he started his business and really poured himself into that a lot, and then also into me. And so we were either, hanging out, doing some grappling or some sparring or, just whatever at night. He had a dojo a couple times in that period of time, where he would teach. He had one in Bentonville where he taught Aikido jiu-jitsu. And then he used to train at TCB. He used to train some boxers over there whenever I was like 9 or 10. So I would go in there. That was like my first boxing gym experience was over there, which used to be in Avoca, Arkansas, right by Rogers. Okay. And I've actually fought one of their guys now. Nice. But yeah, so I used to go there when I was a little bitty guy. And man, so like a lot of it was informal. It was just me and my dad training, him kind of molding me, you know what I mean? And like,
no specific techniques or like I said, martial arts. It's just,
like I said, he's kind of done it all.
He's like an amalgamation of
he's kind of done it all. So he's sort of like brought it all into one thing and made it his own thing.
Right. Draws from whichever he feels needs.
He sort of followed that Bruce Lee sort of mindset of like, take what's useful and discard what's not from these different martial arts. But I would say primarily, like, he really enjoys Kempo, karate, judo. He did a lot of judo. And then in the recent years, he's been teaching me a lot of catch wrestling, which has been great and like kind of evolved and that's when like the clinch the way that they clinch is completely different than a lot of your other, even Muay Thai, a lot of your other skills. So he taught me a lot of those things, and that, man, there's like a lot of little tricks that they do, that different body positioning and stuff that you don't see really anywhere else that I know of.
Wow.
And that's kind of some of the little tricks that I use that I still haven't really taught that many people. And maybe one of these days I will. Maybe I'll start doing. I've been thinking about doing like some clinch clinics and stuff like that.
Clinch clinic, what a great title!
Yeah, the Zumwalt clinch clinic.
Sign me up.
Because, like I said, that's really my wheelhouse. I mean, I feel comfortable everywhere in a fight, but if you get me in the clinch, you're in trouble for sure. But yeah, so doing all that with him, I've done some formal stuff here and there, and then throughout my early teenage years and everything, he put me through a lot of weightlifting, a lot of I always did sports. I grew up doing soccer from the age of like 4 to 9. I did some traveling soccer when I was that age, and then when I moved in with him, it was like we had a basketball goal where we lived, so basketball became the thing. And like, I don't know, my mom was always one of my soccer coaches, so something about that and her not being there, I just didn't want to, I guess, do soccer anymore without her being there. So I did basketball, and then, as you grow up, football became the thing. And from like 13 to, I played a little bit of semi-pro after high school. That was the thing.
You did?
Yeah.
That's cool.
It was fun. It was.
Where'd you do that?
It was Northwest Arkansas Battle is what they're called. And
they still there? Are they still have a thing,
I think they're called something else now, but they're still like a semi-pro league. It was me, I was 19 years old, and playing with a bunch of like dudes that a lot of them were just doing it as a hobby, but some of them like had played college ball and stuff like that. So playing with some 30-year-old dudes, 25, 30-year-old dudes, and it was fun. We came up to Joplin, and they had the Crusaders here. I think they still got them. Yeah, they still do, and they were probably like the premier team in the area at that point in time. Oh. So yeah, I played a little bit with that, and that was fun. Football was like, they were all the dream, at one point in time. And they're like, I'm going to be a world-class soccer player. I'm going to be in the cup one day, or I'm going to play in the NBA. And that was kind of, I always saw myself as that kid. I was always a competitor. I just always saw myself as the possibility of being a professional athlete. And I was always on the upper end of the athletes in school, in whatever sport that I played. Maybe not, I usually wasn't the fastest guy, but I was always up there or whatever. I was a competitor. What I mean? Like, that was always my thing, is I was willing to work hard and willing to learn the skills and the rules of the game, and like push myself to that point to where I was as good as anybody who might be more athletic or more gifted in one way or another than me. So yeah, like when I lived in Wyoming, so I lived with my dad in Bentonville until 13. And then 2008, housing collapse happened around that point in time, and so his plumbing company, a lot of his contracts went down. So he decided that he didn't want to keep pursuing it whenever it was much harder to make a living at that point in time. He was still doing pretty well, what I mean? But he went from making well over 6 figures to probably not clearing near as much, and having to work really hard to get those numbers. And having to do a lot of like competing bids and this and that, and just like, I think it kind of burnt him out a little bit dealing with all that. So
good time for a change too.
Yeah, it was a time for a change. And so he had a cousin up in Wyoming, up in Southwest Wyoming, that, told him basically like, hey, there's great work in the oil field and all that up there. So we moved up there, and that was like culture shock for me. Like 13-year-old kid moving up to a completely different place than Northwest Arkansas, like totally different people.
Landscape,
the landscape,
the mountains,
so much different, dude. Like,
grizzlies.
I remember when I first woke up over there. So where I lived was what's called the high desert, in Green River, and so it's not like lush green mountains. It's like, I mean, you've been around some, so like northern New Mexico, like like where it's kind of like sagebrush and canyons and buttes and stuff like that. So it's like, it's a rough place. Like, the winter is from October until May, late May, and it's hard winter. So yeah, like I remember I woke up in this town called Rawlins when we were.
You woke up.
Yeah, well, like the trip. We're making the first drive up there.
Oh, right.
And I'd fallen asleep somewhere in Nebraska, and then I wake up in Rawlins, Wyoming, and I was like, "What happened here?" It's like, so I'd never seen anything that dry.
Right.
You know what I mean, like it was just brown.
Are we supposed to be here?
Yeah, it was the summertime. It was just brown, and like I was like, was there like a bomb? What
what
happened over
testing
here?
for nuclear
I think
site?
that's what I asked my dad. I was like, did a bomb go off? What happened up here? And so it was a completely different. It was a culture shock. Like nothing I'd ever experienced. People were different. It's like, at least at that point in time, it was like still cowboys. You know what I mean? They're still driving.
Probably still is.
Yeah, still driving cattle up and down the highway. You know what I mean? Like
wow,
they would. Yeah. It was a pretty awesome spot. Like. So I moved there in 8th grade, finished out 8th grade up there, 9th grade, went all the way through 10th grade there in Wyoming, and that's when I really started pursuing football. It was that point in time, and if I hadn't messed up my grades, I was doing well in recruiting and stuff for the University of Wyoming and a couple other schools up there. So that was kind of the dream at that point in time. But we used to, there were some rough boys up there, so we would get in scraps and everything every now and then. And it was like Wyoming kind of made a man out of me to some degree, because I went there 13-year-old and I left 16-year-old and like just a completely different person. Had gone hunting in the mountains and like experienced a whole different side of life than what you would around here. Like hunting there is you don't sit in a tree stand. You know what I mean? You go to where they are. You go on top of a mountain, you glass the elk or the deer or whatever, and you work your way around to find them.
And there are monsters out there.
And there's grizzly bear. Yeah, like you said,
it's not just
seen a grizzly in person, and it's wild. Yeah. It's one of those things where like we were across the meadow, like a good 100 yards from this grizzly.
That's too close.
Yeah, on
100 yards
on four-wheelers, and just like, okay, let's go.
Okay, time to leave.
Yeah, turn around and we're getting it. I was glad I was on a four-wheeler for sure.
Oh, no doubt.
But yeah, that was, it was hugely formative experience living out there, and I miss it sometimes because like the school, like in high school we had open campus, so like during lunch you could just leave and go get lunch wherever you wanted, or you could check yourself out whenever you wanted technically. And I would just go to the office and I'm leaving, and that's when I started getting into trouble. You know what I mean? Like getting into a little bit of trouble, like pot had just been legalized in Colorado at that point in time, and it was flowing in that area. And so I was like 13-year-old kid smoking.
That's young.
Messing up. Yeah, it was young. Too young for sure. Shouldn't have ever been exposed to that, but you don't get to control everything. And 13-year-old kid, I was like, oh, this is cool. What a new, opening up your mind, new experience.
I can't imagine smoking at 13.
Yeah. How old were you?
21, 22.
That's much more appropriate.
I was very anti-weed. My friends will tell you a story where we were at Pitt State and I flushed like a ton down, like this much of weed down the toilet, because I was like, you guys are fucking idiots.
They were so mad.
They were baked out of their minds. They're like, where'd the weed go? I guess I fucking flushed down the toilet. Yeah. Thank God I'm a big guy. So they're like, they were definitely pissed, but and now I look back.
They were too high to be too worried about it.
They were pretty chill. I know they were mad, and I apologize about that, guys, because now I know the truth or whatever. But I am glad I waited.
No, yeah, and that, I wish that I would have not been exposed to some of the things I was when I was as young as I was, but can't go back, like you said. I don't have necessarily regrets about some of the things that I've done in my younger years, because it's led to who I am, and I wouldn't be here talking to you right now,
right.
But yeah, at the same time, it's like, don't do drugs, kids. Wait until you're a grown up and you can decide for yourself, and try and have the best friends you can when you're young, because you are your friends to some degree,
No doubt.
And I mostly had good friends, but it was just wild kids in
it happens.
Southwest Wyoming.
What else are you gonna do?
There's like I said, it's a whole different culture. Just wild people up there, man. It's pretty awesome. Yeah, they're very free, and they don't care about what anybody has to say. And you can say that about people around here necessarily, but it's a whole different level.
Yeah, I noticed that when I moved to California. They had a whole Southern California. Like, they had a whole different vibe, and they kind of did. The one thing I noticed is they said stuff that would be really like offensive here, or at least I would have thought. Yeah, they would just be like, "Man, your hair's like all fucked up."
Yeah.
I'm like, "What the heck?"
Yeah.
But then I'm like, I really like that bluntness.
Right.
I really enjoyed it.
My buddies that I've had that have lived in California, they're willing to say whatever to you.
And it wasn't like out of malice or anything. It was just like an observation, like a child observing something. Right. Yeah. And it was more of like, "Is everything okay? Your hair's crazy." You know what I mean? Like, it was almost out of concern, like, "You good, bro?" Yeah. Not like, "You piece of shit," whatever. Right. But it shook me there for a little bit,
Yeah. No, and being exposed to those different cultures is pretty awesome. I mean, like, if I had always been in the 4 states area, I would certainly be a different person than I am. I still definitely am a son of this area for sure. Like,
right. You got to have a home.
It colored who I am, for sure. But yeah, so started getting into trouble, skipping class a lot, you know what I mean? And like messing up some of my opportunities that really should have been more available to me. And, failed 2 classes during my sophomore year that I should have been, Spanish and algebra 2. Like, I should have been able to pass.
Just show up.
Yeah. I just wasn't. Yeah, I wasn't there.
Yeah. It's hard to pass.
I think I missed like 30 days the second semester.
Oh no.
Yeah, I barely was able to go to junior year.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I so at the end of sophomore year, my grandpa, my dad's dad, was diagnosed with colon cancer, and some of the things that had kept us in Wyoming, like my dad's girlfriend at the time, fiance at the time, they broke off things. And I think really it was just grandpa was the main reason that we came back this way. And we moved in actually at their house where my dad still is, out there at the ninja shop. We moved in over there and took care of him. And he fought, and he ended up having it 3 times before it got him.
Wow.
And went into remission and everything. But yeah, so when we first moved over there, the summer between sophomore and junior year, he was radiation, chemo, like 3 times a week, going down to Northwest Arkansas to go do treatments and everything. So it was hard. I mean, it's hard to see somebody go through all that, and to be in the home and to see how sick he was, and just.
And you're still pretty young too.
I was young, yeah, 16 years old at the time. But yeah, so then I trained my butt off that year because like I said, I had been a dummy. So it was kind of reset for me because moved in with my grandparents. They're Pentecostal, and like, so it's
no
like,
nonsense here.
There's no room for any of that. You know what I mean?
We'll lay hands.
And so
speak some tongues.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. And so, I did a lot of work that summer because there's stuff that, like I said, there's 35 acres, and they've always, like, there was a garden. They've never really, like, they've had chickens and stuff, so they've never been a farm or nothing, but gardens, and, they have a little orchard over there, and, there's always wood to cut or whatever because it's in the middle of the woods, so there's always some work to do. And Grandpa couldn't do it at that point in time, so me and Dad were helping him out, and mostly I was doing a lot of that while Dad would drive him to the treatments or whatever. So I got into really good shape at that point in time, and man, I was like ready. Like I was in some of the best shape of my life, running a 4.40, and like I was ready to play. I was going to play at McDonald County High School, little tiny school that really has never been good at football.
Well, they were going to be.
No, yeah, they were going to be, but yeah. So it turns out that because in Wyoming we had 7 class hours. So I ended up completing one of them, my Spanish. I ended up getting my failing grade to a D throughout the summer. So I only failed 1 class, but in McDonald County there was 8 class hours. So I only had 6, so I was not eligible to play sports that fall. So I had to.
That sucks.
Yeah, so I was on the team and all this, and like practice, and I was starting running back and starting safety, and then the school's like, you can't play. Yeah, like it was after the first jamboree, like 2 weeks before the first game.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, and so it was like it crushed me a little bit on that. But yeah, man, so we went through all that. Met my wife that year in school. She was a grade younger than me. So I was a junior, she was a sophomore. I met her in a remedial class that I had to have because they just didn't do it in Wyoming. It was American history, so it was a freshman class. But I was a junior, she was a sophomore in the class, and yeah, I would help her with her homework before class.
I see.
Yeah, so I noticed her first, and
I know a lot about American history. If you need any help.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah,
George
I did well. She would come in and that was our first class of the day, so I would fill out her homework real quick.
Oh, I see. That's the yeah. I helped her on
that's
her.
The kind of
help.
Yeah, I did her homework for her. Yeah. Right before class.
She's like, I love this guy.
Yeah. But no, yeah, I can still remember seeing her walk into class first day of school and everything. Yeah, which that's 15 years ago now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's one of those things where I noticed her, and just like, oh, look at that girl.
Oh, right. And
then I got to know her and know who she was, and we dated a few times and off and on type of thing throughout the years before we finally got together. But yeah, so did that year at McDonald County, which was also like very informative in my life and shaped me in different ways. Being down there with them hillbillies, and now I live in McDonald County again. Yeah, buddy. It's and it's less the way it used to be, but man, we would go coon hunting after school. Like it was something else. There was some redneck boys, some hillbilly boys.
Oh, they're good people.
Yeah, they're good people for sure. And I've always enjoyed the people there. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, down home. You know what I mean? It's its own kind of little spot.
They don't take themselves too seriously.
No,
which
for
is
sure.
like amazing. I love it.
Yeah,
frees me up so I can be loose like them.
Different, like. They'll definitely say things to you, but kind of different than you would say about like SoCal or something like that. Like they're willing to say things to you, but it's mostly because it's such a tight knit community.
Right.
Like if you know the people, everybody knows each other after a certain amount of time type of thing. Like everybody that I went to school with there had already known each other forever type of thing. Yeah. So I was kind of
you were the new guy.
I was the new guy, kind of the outcast, but interesting, I guess, at the same time. Yeah. And I've experienced that a lot because I went to 3 different high schools, throughout high school and moved schools several times. So finished up junior year there, went back to Bentonville for senior year, and kind of got shunned by the football program there because they wanted you to be in their program for all 4 years. Right. I got some playing time, but it was like big time school for football.
Not what you were hoping for.
No, yeah, it was a big time school for football. Like we were top 20 in the nation for high school football.
Like that?
They're still very good.
Oh, okay.
So now it's split into 2 high schools. It used to just be the Tigers.
Oh.
Now there's Bentonville and Bentonville West. So Bentonville West is the better school now.
Interesting.
But yeah, at that point in time, there was like in between 3,500 and 4,000 kids in the high school.
Okay. Yeah, that's big school.
It was huge. Yeah. My graduating class was like 900.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was ridiculous.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And so I went from this little school where everybody knew everybody, and you couldn't avoid anybody to Bentonville, whereas
you don't know
4,000. Yeah. And I knew a lot of them from having gone to school, growing up. I knew a lot of kids.
Yeah, but 900?
I didn't know. Yeah.
That's crazy.
And yeah, when you expand to just all of them, all 4,000, it was just too much.
I graduated with probably maybe 80 people. Right. I could tell you their names, who they're related to,
right.
So some cool fact about them.
Right,
like,
still connected to all
those.
Yeah,
you throw them up, I was like, that's, so-and-so, that's so-and-so.
Yeah, so it was...
So 900 would be, I can't imagine.
It was nuts, dude. Yeah, it was...
You have to navigate that differently.
Yes, and it was so, like, Bentonville's like a very, at that point in time, and I'm sure they still are, like, very academically challenging, like,
high standards.
International baccalaureate school and all these different things, like different opportunities that you can get into. And I actually did well my senior year, man. Nice. I was like my best grades of any of the years in high school, which wasn't saying much. I always, was smart enough to do the work, but never cared to do it. Right. You know what I mean? Like just
I understand
school was not my gig. You know what I mean? Like I didn't care to be there for the most part. I just wanted to hang out with the boys and play sports.
Typical.
I had my grades good during the sports season, enough to play sports.
Enough to play.
Yeah. But yeah, senior year I had perfect attendance and 3.5 GPA, which for me was great. And
that helps. The perfect attendance helps
that helps with the GPA for sure. Yeah, because like I said, missing 30 days during the second semester is
tough.
makes it hard to pass.
It's tough to pass. Yeah.
I did though. But yeah, man. So all that time, just playing a lot of sports, a lot of time in the gym, a lot of time lifting weights, a lot of time,
and all focused on football.
Most of that focused on football. Yeah.
Because you were still hoping to go off and play.
Yeah. Because obviously messed up my grades, moving schools didn't help, but yeah, I was
still
I was
skill
good. I was
and
good.
Talent. Yeah.
I was good at football.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was always good at different sports, but so yeah. After high school, I went to 2 weeks of college. Yeah. Realized that was not for me.
Which college?
It was in NWAC, Northwest Arkansas Community College, because I didn't apply for any. Like I said, I didn't care. So I got 32 on my ACT, so I did really well on
wow.
that. So I got grants.
That's really good.
Yeah, I got grants and everything to go to school, and nobody told me I had to pay them back if I didn't if I didn't go through. Yeah. So I went to 2 weeks of school, and so during this point in time, I guess I need to scale back a little bit. I moved out of my grandparents with my dad after junior year, and I moved in with one of my best buds growing up, Blaine Hill. I moved in with him and his parents, and they lived in Bentonville, and great people, like salt of the earth, amazing people to be around. His dad actually got brain cancer. I can't remember specifically what kind, but during that year, he was diagnosed with brain cancer. But so I lived with him for the first half of senior year, and then just some different reasons we had a falling out to some degree to where I felt that I should move out. And at that point in time, my mom helped me get a townhouse. She was still living in Oklahoma City at the time. And so I needed money. I was still going to high school. And this is where I think Ryan has told you about my checkered past a little bit, so I needed money. So, like I said, I had started smoking weed when I was 13. Really didn't, off and on through those years. 13 to 15 when I lived in Wyoming, I smoked quite a bit, and then didn't up until this point in time when I moved out. And the way to make money for me was to sell weed. And so I was going to senior year of high school, going every day, just smoking a bunch of weed and selling it, dude. And like mostly not to like high school kids.
I was going to ask, who are you selling it to?
Not mostly high school kids, mostly other people that I met. But there was definitely some high school kids I was selling it to. And it stayed quiet, like nobody knew up until, except for my close buddies, up until like the last 3 weeks of senior year. And then somehow everybody knew all of a sudden. And like I was just getting, hey, can you get me this? Hey, can you get me that?
Like, who told you that?
Yeah. And I have an idea of who it was, but but yeah, I became apparently known at the end of senior year for that. And so, like I said, I was paying my own way through things at that point in time, getting pounds of weed and selling it.
That's a lot.
Yeah. And that's what I was doing at that point in time. So I went into college being a drug dealer, you know what I mean? And
so far it's been successful.
Yeah, it was going well. Money wise, it was going well. Yeah. I always had enough, you know what I mean? Like at that point in time, I was doing it to survive and to support my habit, which was growing as time went on. Your tolerance goes up, and I was just continuing to smoke more and more. And so I didn't go to school, didn't go to college. Eventually took on a job like that next February, working at Domino's just to have a little extra money and to do something. So I delivered pizzas. My first job outside of high school, I delivered pizzas, but
you're good. That actually kind of
potential span.
Oh yeah. Thank you for telling me that. Yeah. That kind of goes hand in hand, pizzas, weed.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no, dude.
This could be very lucrative.
For me at that point in time, 18, 19-year-old kid driving around, smoking joints, delivering pizzas was... It went well.
Pretty nice.
I really enjoyed myself at that point in time. But at the same time, all my buddies were in college. Right. Most of them, like my close group of friends, they were pretty much all of them at U of A.
Right. Oh.
Like doing most of them doing well in school. But they would come up to my townhome right off the square in Bentonville, which was cheap back then.
Yeah. Dang.
like now.
What a place.
There's no way. Yeah. Now there's no way I could have afforded that. But they would come up and we would smoke bowls and go to Waffle House.
Good times.
Yeah.
I mean, great times.
Yeah. So sorry about that.
Of course, they loved that.
Yeah, they had a great time with that, and kind of like probably my best friend to this day, Forrest. It was not good for him because he was just spending more time doing that with me than
It's
school.
a lot more fun than social studies or
right.
whatever the heck they're
he
taking.
He was in business school at U of A, which is
that's tough.
one of the best business schools in the
tough.
nation. And now, thank the Lord and God bless him. He's super successful and doing really well, and got his life right after that point in time, and
nice.
Finished school, and he does really well.
Work for Walmart?
Well, he works with a company that works with Walmart. Yeah. Essentially, yes. Everybody in Northwest Arkansas. Some way or another, your fingers are in that pie. Yeah, he lives in Centerton, and he has a great family, and
nice.
He's
good for him.
That's my dude.
Yeah.
Love you, Forrest. But so I was doing that, selling weed and delivering pizzas. Wrecked my car with my buddy Forrest and my buddy Mark in the car. So that stopped the delivering pizzas thing because that was
essential.
Yeah, it was. You need that. So then I actually moved back in with my grandparents and my dad, and my grandpa was going through his second bout with cancer because he had already been through it, been in remission. And so he started his second bout with cancer at that point in time. And so I stopped. I wasn't selling weed at that point in time. I went to work doing electrical work for a brief period in time, and went back to training with my dad. And was training quite a bit with him, doing a lot of lifting, getting back to living pretty clean, you know what I mean? And I would every now and then go and smoke or blow down, have a party or whatever. But it was going much better in my life at that point in time. And then, just old things called, and I moved back out, and it kind of just became time to some degree because it was a small house. All of us living there, me being 19 years old, didn't want to be living at grandma's anymore. You know what I mean? So that's when I really got deep into that side of things. After that, I started basically couch surfing with different friends for a while I was building back up my drug dealing network,
clientele,
and meeting new people. And I moved to Fayetteville. I think I was 19 still when I moved to Fayetteville, and got a apartment on the east side of Fayetteville. And then college town, it just took off. You know what I mean? I was making a lot of money selling weed and other drugs at that point in time. Unfortunately, I got into psychedelics and pills and all that, so I became a degenerate to some degree. You know what I mean? I was working at Whole Hog Barbecue just as a cover job, you know what I mean? I would show up, we would just blow bowls in the back, I would do dishes and line cook, and just hang out from 10 o'clock until 2:30, 3 o'clock. I was I've always been a hard worker, but getting my job done. But we were just
something for the books,
just something to fill the time, have a little more money for something steady, and something just for the books, something to show. Initially, it was something to show the rental company that I had money coming in. They didn't care after a while because I was paying my bills.
Right.
So it was all good. So I stopped working there after about a year, and then I was making well over six figures.
God dang.
Driving stuff back and forth from Topeka or Kansas City to Fayetteville to Northwest Arkansas, all different areas. And man, it was, I started just going further and further into that sort of underworld of I met more and more people that were deeper into it, bigger,
scarier.
Well, not in the weed game. It's not so much of that. I did eventually get to where I was dealing with people that were in the cartel type of thing, or knew, or were connected.
You generally get there at some point.
Yeah. So when you're driving with 30 pounds in your car, that's where you start to meet those kind of guys.
Right.
So up until I was 21, it was the July after I turned 21. That's when the police came into my apartment and served a warrant, which was for my stepbrother who lived with me at the time. Oh, no. And he was still doing kind of small time stuff, which I had told him not to do anymore, but it is what it is. It's a blessing now that it's happened, because I might still be doing that. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I wouldn't be making much money now, but
different game in town.
Yeah, but at that point in time, you know, I mean, there was a lot of money in that business, and there was a lot to gain from it. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I lost those years. You know what I mean? Like, to some degree, that was my skill set, which networking and all that is a great thing to learn. But my skill set was meeting people at a bar and, you know, finding out if they wanted some, or if they knew somebody who could get some weed or some LSD or some mushrooms or whatever. And yeah, man, like, I wasn't the person I was raised to be at that point in time. Right. You know what I mean? Like, because like I said, I come from a Christian family, like blue collar family, hardworking people. Yeah, so it was very much out of the norm. Very much out of the norm for that. And so they served papers. And took, like, so you can, it's all public knowledge. So none of this is me trying to brag or anything. But yeah, they got like 5 pounds of weed out of my house. And
they didn't come for that though, did they? They came to serve the warrant
for my brother, or my stepbrother. Yeah.
But not for the weed and stuff.
It was for that.
Okay.
And I think I was never able to discover as part of my deal exactly what the deal was, but I'm pretty sure there was this fellow that came into the house at one point in time, like 2 days before they served the papers, that I didn't know very well at that point in time. Yeah. And I think he probably was either an informant or some such.
Undercover type of...
Probably an informant, I would imagine. Like just somebody that they went to pinch every now and then, you know, the cops. And so my uncle, who's the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, was on the drug task force in Fayetteville at that point in time. Oh, wow. He was a sergeant. He was a career cop. Which I've never really talked to him about this specifically. Like, we're on good terms nowadays. For a while after that, we weren't necessarily, or during that time. Yeah. And he's never really come out and said specifically, what happened? I know this and this and that. But he's kind of like, I remember one time, like, I was at Christmas, and this was when I think I'd first married. I think Jess and I had first been married, and you know, I mentioned about how good she was or whatever, and you know how amazing she is, what she is. He was like, "Oh, we know that she's good. What about you?" Type of thing, like, you know.
It's a very uncle thing to say.
Yeah, like, kind of, we know that she's a good person, she's a good woman, but it's yet to be seen about you. And that was like a year or two after all that had gone down. But yeah, so they got a bunch of paraphernalia, a bunch of drugs, you know, scale, all that out of the house. We weren't there when they served all the papers, which is essentially what saved my hiney on not serving time, because I went to jail for a day, turned myself in on my own recognizance, and I went and got the best lawyer I could afford, which was a good lawyer. I could afford a very good lawyer at that point in time.
It does have its perks.
He was a great lawyer. He was a bit of a dick, but man, he was good.
That's funny.
I mean, as I imagine a lot of lawyers are,
especially the good ones.
Yeah, a bit of an asshole, but he was great at his job, man. So went through that process for almost a year before everything finally got settled. And so obviously, like, after all that, I left that apartment. You know, I was out of there. I was like, I'm out of Dodge. You know, I went to, I think, jail the next week. I served my 1 day because I had such a good lawyer. They let me get out with any bail or anything like that, and because I came to them, you know, type of thing.
Wait, so they raid your apartment,
serve papers, take all this stuff. They missed an ounce of mushrooms, and they missed some stuff too. But
allegedly
they missed some things. It's been long enough now that it doesn't matter anymore. But
then what? Days later, you go to the police station.
Yeah, I think that was a Friday. I feel like that they served on the house, and so I think it was like the next Tuesday or Wednesday, or something like hey. That. Yeah,
that was my apartment.
I go in. I went to the lawyer on that next Monday.
Good move.
He called in to the drug task force.
Was it your idea to turn yourself in?
Well, essentially, so we can break down how this went. One of the first questions he asked, I had to pay him $3,500 up front before he did anything.
He's an asshole.
Yeah. The first questions he asked, he's like, you know, I'm going to ask you, don't you? Which he was alluding to, am I going to snitch on anybody? And my answer was no.
Yeah.
Which
could you have?
Oh, certainly.
Oh,
I could have gotten out of everything, and yeah, like I said, I was involved with some people that were doing heavy lifting in that world.
That's crazy. That was his first question.
Yeah, that was the number one question.
That's a scary question.
Yeah, like, hey, are you know what I'm going to ask you? And I was like, you know, I think I said, like, am I going to rat? Am I going to snitch? And, you know, he's like, yeah, that's what I'm asking you. And I was like, no. And, you know, for me, like, it's kind of crazy that it honestly wasn't even a thought that I wanted to. I also knew that there's potential that some of the people that I might have snitched on, I could have ended up dead from that. For
sure. So, I think that's exactly the correct way of thinking.
But, so yeah, he's like, no, that's the first question. And then he's like, okay, so now I'm going to make a phone call. He called the head of the drug task force, and, it was like, hey, are you looking for this guy? Do you know about this guy? And they did. They knew about me, and they didn't know much, but they knew about me, and they knew that they found most of the stuff in my room. And they took like $7,000 in cash, which sucked.
Ouch.
Yeah, and I was paranoid. You know what I mean? At that point in time, as people tend to be in that world, and I usually rode around with that kind of money on me, and I had left it there that day, and I was so mad that I didn't. Only. Yeah. But yeah, so he asked them that, and they're like, no, you know, we are looking for him. We know about him. This and that and the other. So he worked out like, hey, you're going to turn yourself in. Things are going to go better for you if you do this. They've agreed to let you walk out without a bail if you do. And so that's what I did. Went into jail, walked out, and then like, yeah, it was like 10, 12 months of court proceedings. I had a really hardcore prosecutor at first. My lawyer happened to know that she was going to go to the federal prosecuting agency in a short period of time. And so we waited her out. Her first deal to me, like the deal that she was going to offer, 3 years served, 8 years probation or parole, which that was my first ever offense of any kind.
Wow.
Yeah. 3 years served, 8 years parole.
Well, and for nothing in return, like she's not.
That was the deal.
That was just, here's what we got for you.
Yeah.
You bad boy. You can't.
There was no slap on the wrist with her. So,
goodness.
Like I said, thank the Lord I didn't end up serving that time. And, you know, yeah, I really had to take stock of my life during this 1 year period. I was also still an idiot, and I still needed money. So I was still selling drugs at that point in time. And I was as big as ever, you know, like I was still doing a lot of business when I was, like if I got caught,
that's crazy.
I was going down. But
that would have been bad.
That tells you where my mindset was.
That would have.
That tells you where my mindset was at that point in time. I was a different guy, you know, like that's the part of the guy back then that could go into a cage and fight somebody.
Sure. Yeah. Right.
That was that part of me manifesting itself into that, into the underworld of drugs.
Were you just not concerned with the potential?
Dude, I was concerned, but that's just what I knew.
Waited, or
that's what I knew, and at the same time, like I was always willing to accept the consequences to some degree, like as dumb as that is. You know what I mean? Like I was always, and that's part of why I never wanted, like I always said I wouldn't snitch, and it was never, I don't think it was ever like in my brain, like, oh, if this ever happens to me, I guess I'll just snitch on somebody. It just, right. I knew that there's consequences if you do this, if you get caught. And, you know, so I just rode it out, you know what I mean? Like I just rode that ride all the way to the end. And yeah, so I spent all that time, still driving back and forth, picking up pounds of weed, still delivering.
That's wild.
Still doing all that. And I was doing everything like pick it up, drive it, drop it off, get the money. It was like very streamlined at that point in time because I still had my connections, which is crazy that they were still willing to work with me.
I was going to say, did they know? Did they know?
Well, yeah, they knew that they knew, but they also knew that I wasn't snitching on them.
I'd be patting you down every time.
Right. Yeah. I'm still surprised that they were
like,
willing.
Wait a minute. You just got out of that whole thing?
That kind of shows you, I guess, the reputation I had in that world to some degree.
Right.
You know, I guess that's what it is. is that they kind of knew who I was, and like if I was going to flip on them, it would have already happened. You know what I mean? Like I had them all if I wanted to, type of thing. So yeah, I was still doing business, dude. I was still doing that. I had moved in with Jess during this point in time so I got popped in July. I moved in with Jess in like August or September.
Just dating at this point.
Dating, but like, yeah.
Might as well be married.
Yeah, we moved in together, which was the first time that had ever happened. Like I moved in with her.
Yeah.
Because I was, at that point in time, I didn't have a whole lot going for me. I had my car. I had I had some money, and she knew that I was in trouble, and kind of knew what I was doing, but I think
kind of knew.
Yeah, I think she was kind of blinders. Like,
oh, you didn't talk about it. You didn't go $7,000 in my hand.
Yeah, well, she saw the money. Yeah.
Okay.
She saw money, and she knew that was happening.
Yeah.
I think it was, like I said, just blinders. She was 19, 20-year-old girl.
Maybe not even able to conceive what is actually occurring. You know?
Yeah. And
it's like, Zerek's just a really hard worker, and
well, I mean, she knew what I was going to do. I didn't talk. Like I said, I didn't come out and say it, but she knew what I did.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I would leave, at 10 in the morning and come back at midnight from a day of driving around, dropping stuff off, type of thing. So, and there would be a lot of money all of a sudden, And she knew.
Right.
But yeah, and then it was I think it was April, that I finally got my sentencing and had a new prosecutor. He was kind of green, kind of new to the game, I think. And like I said, I had a really good lawyer. I remember at one point in time, he told me, you're going to hand me, I think it was $2,500 cash, and there's not going to be a receipt for this, and this is going to go away. And that's essentially what happened. I handed him $2,500 after I'd already paid him like close to $10,000. You know what I mean?
Wow.
But a lot of that was, it was cash.
Yeah.
But there was receipts on all that.
Right.
And he's like, you're going to hand me this money. There's no receipts, and this is going to go away for you. And
yes, sir.
Yeah, so I came up with the money, gave it to him, and I ended up getting 3 years of probation. That I only had to report to my officer once. I had to do a drug test in Fayetteville. But yeah, in that point in time, if I were to have gotten into any sort of trouble, I was going to serve 18 years. It was 35-year sentence, but they said you will serve 18.
Like if you get pulled over with a taillight or something? I mean, not
anything. Like
anything
drunk driving, or just anything, like any sort of upper level misdemeanor, like anything beyond just like traffic violation. No.
18 years.
18 years, yeah. And so I was still selling.
Oh my God, Zerek.
Yeah, I know.
Hey, what? I'm freaking out.
I know, dude. It was bad.
I would have just sat in my room and watched TV. I wouldn't have done nothing, dude. No way.
Yeah, so I sold for, I think, my 22nd birthday came up shortly after that, after I was sentenced and all that. And like, I think it was about that time I was like, okay, I'm going to have to not do this. It's not worth spending 18 years of my life in prison anymore. I've got, at that point in time, we were engaged. And, so I've got this young woman who's looking to me to provide for her for the long run, and like has been my ride or die through all this. Like, she had gone to court with me. She had, seen me cry over the stuff, and like, she had been there, what I mean? And she was there for me, like really there for me, really, really a ride or die. And like, I realized that, and I was like, well, she's the one, what I mean?
No doubt.
And I need to make this work and
do it right,
be the right guy. Yeah. So I think shortly after I was 22, right about then, I quit and I went to work on a farm, and life completely changed. I was like 270 pounds about that time, like at the end of when I got sentenced and everything.
Wow.
Which for me, I don't carry that well. I was fat.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah, I was a big boy, and so like I had been athletic up until I really got into things. Like from 20 to 22, I was couch potato, smoking 7 blunts a day. Like just plus, that was what I rolled for myself.
Right.
Not to mention everything else. And, just kind of like the scum of the earth a little bit, man. You know what I mean? Like, not a productive person for society. I produced a lot for me, and like I said, I was making great money, and that kind of justified it in my head a little bit. But looking back, I'm like, you wasted a lot of that time. And what could have happened with all that time if I had applied myself in the right way. I don't know, but like I said, probably would not have moved in with my wife, my wife, and probably would not be where I am. Probably wouldn't have my family. No. So I really can't regret it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
it happened.
It happened. It shaped who I am. And it showed me who I don't want to be. Yeah. In the end. Right. You know what I mean? Like, I'm never going to be that guy again. And, I was a lot of fun to hang out with at that point in time, but I wasn't a good guy. You know what I mean? Like I said, there was people in the underbelly of the world I was dealing with, and I was going further into that and into things that I never thought that I would do. Right. You know what I mean? And like,
it's a slow trickle.
Yeah. Like, for instance, I asked Jess to marry me on a trip to Humboldt County for business. She said yes, thankfully. But I was out there to pick up a lot of stuff. And, dealing with some people that questionable. I went to this lady's house, and her bathtub was full of pounds of weed, and it was up in the mountains in Humboldt. And she said, whatever, go around the house, hang out, whatever. Just don't go up on the hill, because you'll run into a giant Mexican with a machine gun. I can't tell you what he's going to do if you come across him. Oh, wow. So, okay, I'm going to stay right here. Yeah, don't worry.
No problem.
Yeah. So
the seat's fine.
Yeah. So I was, like I said, if you end up being a kid from Northwest Arkansas that ends up going all the way out to Humboldt, where that is really at that point in time, that it still probably is, but like, that was the spot. That's where you wanted to be. If you wanted to be, that's where making money.
That's where they say all the good stuff would come from.
Buddy,
all it's from Humboldt.
If you drive through there, it's just.
I think it still is.
It's just everywhere. Yeah. Just farms, and it's a beautiful place. I want to go back just to visit, because like where we went, Arcata, Eureka, California, redwoods all the way up to the beach, like giant redwoods all on the beach, and you're just hanging out, and it's amazing place. Definitely want to go back one day, but for different reasons.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just to visit. But man, I asked her to marry me on the beach there on Moonstone Beach, and she was crazy enough to say yeah. So, but it's worked out for us, man. Yeah. So I came back from that, worked on that farm, started to get my life right.
What do you mean farm?
It was an organic farm. It was like a startup of an organic farm. It was
like vegetables or
it was goats, chickens. I had a little pig farm at that point in time. Okay. I had 10 acres that I was doing pasture-raised pork on, which was a pretty cool venture. And, a pretty cool venture that I lost a lot of money on, because now there's a market for that sort of thing. But this was almost 10 years ago. There really wasn't much of a market for pasture-raised organic pork. And you've got to feed them organic feed, which was at the time
10 times as much.
Yeah, 5 times as much as normal. Right. And I had to drive all the way to, what's that town in Kansas? Kansas. To go get it. So from Neosho is where the farm was, and Thayer's like 2 hours plus. So I had to make that trip like once a month, which a lot of time, a lot of money. And then I had pasture raised hogs. We ended up with like 60 of them at one point in time.
Wow.
Yeah, man, it was a lot. And I was working at Cardinal Scale at the same time towards the end of that. So I'd wake up in the morning at like 8 or 9 in the morning, feed my hogs, and then I would hang out with the wife for the day, and we lived out there on the farm. It was like 200 acres of untouched land.
Wow.
In between Neosho and Seneca.
Yeah. But someone else owned this farm. That's like you're working for.
The lady that I worked for owned the farm, and she had a separate piece of property she lived on out by Goodman, right by Goodman. And that ended up being where she had like 150 goats out there, dude.
Oh, wow.
Breeding goats and lots of chickens. So I don't think it was ever that successful of a farm, but she just had money.
Sounds like a cool spot.
It was fun. Yeah. It was a good time in life, and I learned a lot. And I lost like 100 pounds in about a year and a half.
Wow.
I was like, like I said, I was like 270. I think I had lost, 20 pounds by the time I started working on the farm. And then after I got married, I went, which was in October of 2016, I went off to a survival school out by Mansfield and went for 42 days to be a survival instructor, which was kind of like you said, the infinite potential thing. Just something I always wanted to do. And I think at that point in time, I needed to prove to myself that I could do something hard, because I had just come from selling drugs. And,
that's hard.
Yeah.
And scary.
Yeah, it was hard. And I made it through. And it was like, we started with 16 people in the class and only 9 completed.
Wow. 42 days seems like a long time.
Yeah, living in the woods, sleeping on the ground.
Wow. How many was 42 the max amount of days?
45 days was the full scope of the class. We all completed the curriculum.
Okay.
3 days sooner.
Okay.
Essentially.
So you made it to the end.
Yeah, we made it. And so it was 5 weeks of 5 weeks of learning essentially, and then 1 week of a test where you were just you and your clothes and 2 knives, and we went out to the Mark Twain National Forest and lived for that week.
Wow.
And so
that's actually pretty cool.
It was an experience, man. I got to meet some really great people that were from all over, like dude from the Netherlands, a couple guys that came from San Francisco, that were really cool dudes. A lot of retired, a lot of veterans, a lot of retired military guys went there because, I guess they got disposable income and they just needed something to do. And
that makes sense.
It was it was really cool. And obviously I learned a ton. Thought I was going to use it to make a living. Never have.
You were going to be an instructor.
An instructor. Yeah. I'm certified. I'm certified to teach survival instruction.
Did you try? Did you
Not really, man.
I've taken survival.
No, I've taken some friends out and done some small things, but never. It was just one of those things I did, and then life moved on, and I have a skill set that sits over here.
Just a total side quest.
Yeah, that's definitely what it was. It was, like a $4,000 side quest.
Oh wow!
And so at that point in time, my wife was pregnant too, and it was immediately after we got married.
Oh right.
I mean, we got married in October. I went to school from November 1st till December 13th or whatever it was. So left my wife at home pregnant.
Right. I'm going to go out into the woods.
She knew, and she knew before.
Did
all
you?
This. Well, yeah.
When you were in the woods?
I knew she was, yeah.
Okay.
She was very pregnant.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I see.
I had reserved the class, paid the money, it was like $2,500 I had paid in April or May of that year. So for 6 months, we knew that was going to happen, and she wanted to get married in that year, so we got married that year.
This woman loves you.
She loves me.
She is the one for you.
She's my rock, dude.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, I can't, like I said, I can't imagine anybody else in my corner than her. You know what I mean? She'll always be the one. Yeah, so went through all that. And so I came back from that, and I was 165 pounds from living in the woods for, I think I was 190, 195 when I went there, or maybe 200, somewhere around 200.
Right. Yeah.
And I lost 35 pounds in those 40 days. And just from, you're sleeping on the ground in the winter, your body's burning some serious calories.
Yeah.
And learning the survival skills was obviously a lot of work. And then we were just eating out of cans and stuff for the most part, whatever you brought. Dehydrated food or whatever it happened to be. I ate a lot of cans and a lot of peanut butter and jelly because we were broke.
Yeah.
And I had already prepaid, but there was no money coming in at that point in time.
Right.
I had the hogs, and my wife was taking care of these hogs while she was 6 months pregnant.
Right.
While I was off in the woods.
Dang.
Yeah, she's a stud, man. Don't let anybody ever tell you otherwise. Ryan will say some things.
Ryan says a lot of things.
Yeah. So after that, that next March, so she was pregnant during this point in time. That next March, March 30th, our first baby was stillborn. Our first daughter. She was full term, and just a bacteria got into her heart and killed her. And that was the hardest thing I've ever gone through. You know what I mean? There's nothing much harder than that, than losing any child, losing your first child. And that's one way I know, like, you can miss somebody you've never known. It's possible. And it's still hard. You know what I mean? Like, and she would be 8 this year. So it's been 8+ years now. And that's a week before my birthday. So my birthday's kind of a hard time for me anymore, in a certain way. So that welled up a lot of anger and just a lot of aggression and anxiety in me. And so I started training. I went to Victory, and I think it was that October. I just had a night where, I just screaming, man, howling at the moon, just realizing that I had to do something with all of these feelings and with everything that was going on. And so it was God, in my view, that was God steering me towards where I am now. So I went to the gym just to blow off steam, get back to my roots a little bit, get back to training, I knew that, like, hey, I've always enjoyed watching MMA. I've always enjoyed watching combat sports. Grew up watching Floyd Mayweather and Mike Tyson fights, with my mom when I was little and all that. So, and obviously, like we said, my family has a lot of combat sports history. So I just knew that for me was going to be a good outlet. So I went to do that, train with TJ and Frank and all those folks there. And I think I was there for like 2 months. And Frank was like, "You're pretty good at this, like, do you want to give it a try and, like, compete?" And so I started, I think, like I said, in October or November. And then my first amateur fight was June of 2018, the end of June of 2018. And so 9 months later or whatever, 8 months later. And yeah, it's been balls to the wall since then, pretty much, man. Wow. Pretty much just kept going. But yeah, losing my daughter was what initially started the fighting journey. Beyond everything, all the formative stuff of training and being an athlete, and always viewing myself as that guy that, not necessarily a role model, but just that guy that could be a professional athlete. And, like, that was always the dream in the back of my head. Sure. Even when I was selling weed like crazy. Right. You know what I mean? Like, even when I was a bum on the couch and playing video games and, started drinking at 10 in the morning and, whatever the case was. Right. Popping pills and doing psychedelics, whatever. At that point in time, I just... Whatever. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I was just filling a hole, pretty much. You know what I mean? Like, I just needed to feel something, I think, at that point in time in my life. Or feel nothing. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Some of both. Yeah. So yeah, that's what got me into fighting. And I never, like, at that point in time, I didn't view it as anything more than just an outlet. And then I had my first fight, and it was like a 40-second knockout. That feels good. Smoked him. And Muay Thai. It was amateur Muay Thai in Tulsa. And then... How come you took a Muay Thai fight to start out with? Well, that was... that's where I first met you, I think, was at Victory, right? Have you ever been there? I don't know. At DJ's, probably. DJ's, okay. Yeah. I can't recall which one it was. Yeah, so their philosophy at that point in time, I wanted to do MMA because that was always, the thing that I was most interested in. And I knew that, like, what my dad had taught me would transfer the best. Right. Muay Thai or MMA, but I always thought MMA. But they wanted you to do a striking competition and a grappling competition before you did MMA. I got you. Yeah, so that seems like a good philosophy. Yeah, and I don't think it's a bad idea at all. So yeah, I did that Muay Thai, and then I competed in the Oklahoma City AGF tournament later that year, and then I had my second MMA fight, my first MMA fight on April 20th of the following year, 2019. Got my nose just pushed to the side of my face. Punch. And I ended up fighting. That was Anthony Tolbert, which he was a handful. And I think he broke it like 40 seconds a minute. Ooh. It was a short amount of time, but just one of those where I just can't tell. Right. Yeah. Well, and so, yeah, I didn't believe it, but yeah, I mean, he broke my nose to the side, buddy. I remember I didn't believe that it was broken because I was, so juiced on adrenaline at that point in time. Those first 10 fights, the amount of adrenaline was crazy, dude. Like, just tunnel vision, adrenaline like crazy, can't feel nothing. Like I kind of miss those days a little bit.
Right.
Because now I feel things. But yeah, the adrenaline was crazy. And like, I remember I went to the back and I was like, why did they stop the fight? You know what I mean?
Oh, they stopped the fight.
Yeah. Nose broke. I had, I guess, kind of like a flash. Like he knocked me down when it happened. And Rocky, the ref, who's a gym, that dude's awesome. He stopped the fight. And now I'm like, it's a good thing I didn't get punched in the nose after that some more. But I wanted to fight at that point in time. But I went to the back. I was like, why did they stop the fight? And Ryan, I think it was Ryan. Ryan was like, go look in the mirror.
I was going to say, get this guy a mirror.
Yeah, go look in the mirror. And I went and looked, and dude, I was just like, oh, okay. All right. Well, I can see why they stopped the fight now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so my dad, you know, back in his day, for black belts, they taught you how to reset bones and stuff like that. And he was an EMT at one point in time in his life. He's had worn a lot of different hats, that guy has.
Right. A lot of side quests.
There's a whole legend we can go into with him, but yeah, that's where I get the infinite potential.
Oh,
from.
yeah.
I mean, he's done a lot of jobs.
It's because you have a lot of potential.
Well, I think everybody does, and finding where you can fulfill that. And I think there's different times for different things, like the timing in your life. Like for now, I'm fulfilling my potential in fighting, but when I'm 40, I won't have that potential anymore. You know what I mean? Like when I'm 45, it's going to be over.
There's seasons for things.
Seasons for everything.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite Bible verses.
Absolutely.
Ephesians 1-8. My dad goes in the back there and he grabs 2 pencils and puts them up there, and then a thick rag, and just, and dude, like my vision went white. My ears were ringing. I had to sit down. I was like, okay, now I really know that thing was broken. But yeah, he
I believe you.
He straightened it up, dude. And yeah, it's pretty, mostly straight, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Just the dude in the back with a couple pencils, just because they wanted me to go to the hospital. And he's like, oh, you're not going to the hospital. You'll be all right.
You.
Yeah, you'll be
Sit
all
down,
right.
son.
Crack.
And you breathe all right and everything? Like, I know people get their
I think
nose
there's probably some obstruction on this side, if I had to guess.
Right.
But
it
hasn't stopped me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like my cardio has never been really a problem in fighting. But yeah, so he fixed my nose, and yeah, dude, that was crazy. But yeah, and
did you take a picture of it?
No, I don't. Ryan probably has a picture.
Okay,
Ryan's got pictures of all
the.
Yeah, Ryan's got pictures of all the things, all the times that I've been bloodied and bruised and everything.
Right.
He's got them. But yeah, so that, when I went through that and I still wanted to fight, I kind of knew, like,
it's a good sign.
I can do this, you know what I mean, type of thing. And so that was my second amateur fight. I ended up having 12 total. I went 10-2 with my amateur career. I think I had like 6 or 7 knockouts as an amateur.
Wow.
And I finished my amateur MMA career with 3 first round in the first minute knockouts. And I was like, at this point, like, I need to stop fighting amateur. You know what I mean? Like, because
I've proven myself.
Yeah. And I don't need to keep knocking everybody out in a minute. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not doing anything for me. I'm not learning anything in these fights. And yeah, so went pro. Now I've been pro for almost 3 years now. And it'll be just over 3 years when I have this next kickboxing match. And that'll be my 12th professional fight, which I've had a couple of, like,
this one's for a belt, isn't it?
Yeah, for a welterweight title for XFN.
Buffalo Run?
Buffalo Run. Yes, sir. Run. June 28th.
It's a good venue.
Yeah, it's a good venue. I've had mixed success there. That's where I fought dude in boxing and
I remember that.
Had the draw with my back, and then that's where Tony Grant caught me in the second round after I dropped him twice in the first round, and I wasn't knocked out, but the ref stopped the fight. And it's, it's probably for the best, but I was a little wobbly on my feet. You know what I mean? I still wanted to fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then that last one at Buffalo Run with XFN was,
you and Jimmy both were on that card, weren't you?
We were both on that card.
Yeah,
and dude, I'm still kind of salty about that, because that was the earliest stoppage. I mean, dude hit me once, and it is what it is.
Right.
We're going back for the belt this time.
That's right.
And I tried to get that dude to fight me again. And they were pressuring him to do the fight again because of how it ended.
The promoters?
The promoters were.
Yeah. Just
I don't know. I never heard what he said, but apparently he doesn't want to.
Is he still fighting?
Yeah, as far as I know.
Okay.
I don't know that he's had. I haven't looked at his record to see if he's had any fights, but yeah, he got away with one. I'll put it that way.
Yeah,
he got away with one that night. Yeah. But yeah, man. So I'm excited for this next one, kickboxing belt fight. Get my feet back in with XFN. To me, I enjoy kickboxing, but it limits my skill set. Like Can
you do elbows?
No elbows. There's knees, punches, a very short amount of clinch, kicks obviously. Like you're allowed to clinch for a very short period of time. Like
you can't hold it clinch.
So actually, you know what? Actually, now I think about it, XFN, if you're working in the clinch, they will let you clinch for a while.
Oh, okay.
They'll let you clinch for a long time.
They just don't want you to get tied up. Is that the deal? Not XFN.
So in general with kickboxing, it's like
they want
you clinch, throw a knee, and they're gonna, if you're clinching for more than a few seconds, they're breaking that thing up.
Oh, okay.
But XFN has, I guess, their own rule set with that, where you can clinch quite a bit, which I do like that. No elbows. Which
is that hard to do, to like adapt your game, like the elbows?
To some degree, it is.
Like, I feel like you probably want to throw those.
Yeah. So like my first pro fight was boxing, my first ever boxing match, because I didn't want to do amateur boxing because of headgear and 16-ounce gloves. I was like, this,
right.
At the time I was a knockout artist. Like, this is limiting my
specialty,
my best aspect. Yeah. Right. So first pro fight was boxing, and it was weird. You know what I mean? Because I'd competed in Muay Thai, kickboxing, and MMA as an amateur, and then I have this boxing match, and it went. I got the knockout. It went well, but I remember a couple times like my footwork. I was like setting up a knee, and I'm like, I can't do that.
That's good that you caught yourself.
Yeah, like I've always been able to adapt to the rule set, but maybe not optimally because of just having these things hardwired.
I was gonna say it's your style.
Yeah. So I'm gonna get this belt. If you're gonna offer me a belt, I'll probably come fight you in whatever sport. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care. You're gonna give me a belt and make me a champion in your promotion and XFN. They're really they've been around for a long time. Since like the late 70s.
I feel like they're a good promoter.
They are a pretty good promotion. I think, Synergy is my favorite promotion to work with, just because Chris and Zach, love those dudes. Very professional. They do a great job of setting everything up. They've got decent cameramen. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I would vet them more often, I think.
No, they just do a good job with the production. They always have good matches. Usually a good venue. They need to get me on a Kansas City card because I want to smoke somebody in Kansas City.
June 20th.
Yeah, June 20th. I know.
Can we sneak in?
That's a week before. Yeah. Hey, I haven't signed the contract necessarily with XFN. I have a bout agreement. If they want to offer me something, big, I might be in for it.
Shout out. Hey, Chris, what are you thinking? He's coming on the podcast on Friday. So.
Is he? Nice. Yeah. Oh, that'd be cool. But yeah, no, I love those dudes. It's like Zach was obviously a fighter, obviously, UFC vet and everything. So he knows the game, and he knows what it's like to be on the other side of things, which is great. And Chris is just solid dude. I remember I went up to fight. You remember the Apex show
that he used to be?
Yeah, that he was on. I had an amateur fight against a guy there, and this dude was just talking trash before, like at weigh-ins. He was just mouthing when I'm waiting to get on the scale, hard weight cut, you know what I mean, like it's 170, and he's over there, it's just me and my wife, and he's over there trying to get me to come take pictures with him because he's already been on the scale. Come on, hurry up, get over here. I'm like I'll be over there in a minute. I'm next up on the scale. Like, give me 2 minutes. And he's like, hurry up, man. The sooner you get off the scale, or sooner we take these pictures, sooner I can whoop your ass, and this and that and the other. And and just like for no reason, just being an a-hole. And Chris, he's like kind of standing close to me, and I can kind of tell like he had my back because this dude had like a whole team with him and everything. And so ever since then I'm like, okay, Chris is all right. You know what I mean? Like
he seems to be.
He's the promoter, but he had my back whenever it was just me over there, and dude was just talking some trash or whatever, and then I knocked dude out with some hammer fists, and Chris was like, oh man, I'm so glad you did that.
So good. Yeah, leaning in.
Yeah, he's like, that dude was talking some trash. But yeah, love fighting with Synergy. They're like my favorite promotion to work with. XFN is very storied, you know what I mean? And they've had like 400 shows.
Wow.
So, and Apollo, the promoter, the owner there, him and his son, they're the guys there. Apollo was like a world champion in karate back in the day.
Oh, cool.
And he's an OG. Like, my dad knew about him back in the day, and like he was
serious.
He was the man back then, you know what I mean? So fighting for him is cool, and I know it's like they're the best kickboxing promotion in the Midwest. And you know, so get the kickboxing belt. My real goal is to parlay that into, like I said on the camera, with Synergy. Want that belt. 170 or 185, don't really care. Like I said, I'll fight 185. I don't care if these guys weigh a little bit more than me. And strength has never really been a problem for me. You know, doesn't matter what weight class. I work with my hands every day. You know what I mean? I'm a pretty solid dude.
It makes a huge difference.
Yeah. And like I said, I've done a lot of weightlifting and powerlifting in my life, and a little stronger than I look. But Synergy, I want the Synergy belt. I want the XFN kickboxing and MMA belt, and they're doing 4-ounce Muay Thai as well now, belts, which we've talked to Synergy about a belt for that as well, because I've had 3 Muay Thai fights with them. Belt collecting for the next year, and then big show time.
Like karate.
Karate Combat, UFC.
Yeah, Karate Combat.
UFC, PFL. Like, I feel like I'm ready for any one of those at this point in time. I need more of a record, obviously, for the UFC. I'm only 2-0 in MMA. You know, I've had 11 pro fights, but I think Karate Combat, my skill set fits right in perfectly. They allow elbows and everything now too, so fits in well there. I think, like I said, I could compete with the guys in the PFL today at the highest level. Let me just silence this.
Like, where are you? It's
yeah,
been
that's
2.5 hours.
My wife. Yeah. And I think I could do well with a lot of the guys in the UFC, but I'm willing to give myself a little more time to develop and grow for that. So whenever I get to that level of show, my goal is to be ready and fight 5-6 times in a year. You know what I mean? Like, because I like to stay busy. And
yeah, that's a lot. That's a very busy.
Yeah, I fought, I think 6 times in 1 year before. For sure 5. If you're going to pay me a fat chunk of change, I'll be there as often as possible.
Right,
you know what I mean?
right.
As long as I'm winning, I'll be there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really looking forward. That's where I'm at is, you know, I had been remodeling the house I live in now for the last 1.5 years, almost 2 years. And that kind of really put a damper on my training and on my schedule. And, you know, I didn't fight much in these last couple of years compared to how I would like to. So I'm trying to have, you know, it's May now, fight in June. I have opportunity for one in July. I just got offered one on Instagram the other day, but they found a match before I got back to them. And then we had talked to Synergy about like October.
Nice.
Because Ryan, they wanted September. Ryan's having his baby in September.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, he's been with me for 22 of my 23 fights. So
yeah.
I want that guy in my corner whenever I go anywhere, especially if I'm going for a contender belt against a good fighter in MMA. But yeah, the dream was always MMA, and you know, that was always what I really wanted, and everything else has kind of been building into that and sort of a side quest. And I've fallen in love with Muay Thai to some degree too. Like I really enjoy the art of Muay Thai, and yeah, it's in. You can see it, I think, in the way that I fight. That I've learned a lot from that, and
heavy influence.
Yeah, and there's no learning. There's no substitute for learning those elbow techniques and clinch techniques that I have, which, like I said, it's kind of all amalgamated from the years of different martial arts that my dad has shown me, and really just an understanding of body mechanics and positioning, and you know.
Timing,
how a human body moves. You know, once you understand that, you're able to manipulate that. And so now, being this far into my career, I feel like I'm mentally able to get there in fights now to where I need to be in the right headspace, and able to react in fights and able to cogently go through, you know, like be conscious of what I'm doing,
right.
and
not be consumed
to
by
not
the
just be
adrenaline
fully reactive.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, because a lot of my initial fights, it was a lot of reactive,
right.
just a lot of not even necessarily so much of a game plan, just knowing what I do well and doing that and reacting to whatever they do with what I do well.
Right.
Which still, I think the best way that I know how to game plan is to, I don't watch too much film. I watch enough to understand my opponent's weaknesses and their strengths. For the most part, I'm looking at their strengths and then a few areas that I can exploit with what I know to do. And then I just work with my skill set within that. And, you know, like for that last fight, my game plan was to wear him out a little bit and then to finish him. And I figured it would be the second round. And then to finish him after he
kind of was.
Yeah, right. And to finish him after he got a little tired. So yeah, it's another thing I will say to fighters is be careful in some degree what it is you tell yourself about the fight before you go in, because it's a lot of times it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, okay, I want to kill this dude. You know, I'm going out there. You know, I'm gonna go full force. That works out sometimes. Sometimes you get caught because you're just looking.
So aggressive.
I'm only looking at what I can do to you, not what you can do to me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. And so, be very conscious of the way you approach it before you step in the cage, because when you're in the cage, sometimes it just, or the ring, it just happens. Like I said, it just is. Yeah. You know, but the preparation, obviously, in training camp and training, is super important. But in the days leading up to the fight, you have to be very careful about how you approach your mentality, and you know, don't speak unkind words about the warrior within. You know what I mean? Like you gotta be very positive about who you are and what you can do. And
especially as it gets closer and closer to the day of. You know?
And you gotta, you know, everybody's got their own way, I'm sure. You know, like everybody's different. Everybody's got their own way, but you gotta build yourself into that intensity. That's what I do. I stay real calm up until, like, I don't let myself get jazzed up about the fight too much up until really it's time to start cutting weight. Like, and then I use that as fuel to cut the weight.
That's good.
And then we go into the fight with like I said, with like a sound mind, but having a very distinct plan. And very, I don't, like I said, it's very limited with the things that I'm planning. I have these things I see about them that I think I can exploit. These things I need to watch out for. And then I just go in with maximum effort.
Are Ryan and Jimmy also like influencing this plan? Like, is it the three of you, or is it more of you deciding within your own yourself?
Sometimes it depends. I found that Ryan is very willing. And I think it's different with like we've been through a lot of fights, right? So 22 fights. So I think he knows to trust me to know what I can and should do. He gives me input, you know what I mean? But he doesn't try to dictate too much. Like when I'm in the cage, I trust everything he says. And, you know, in between rounds, I trust everything that they're saying. And I put that into my brain, and that's like I said, they were telling me, keep your distance, you know, do your thing in between those rounds in this last fight. And, you know, that's what I was saying in my head as I stood up from the stool, like, okay, keep your distance, you know, pick your shots. I think that's what they told me. Keep your distance, pick your shots, be smart. And, you know, so Jimmy will tell me some things. He's kind of become a more recent corner, you know, for me. Like, he's cornered me a few times now, and I've cornered him a couple times. So I obviously trust his advice, because he's been around as a pro for a long time now. He has a different eye than Ryan. Like, he's really good at seeing defensive holes in my game. So he's usually telling me, like, hey, close the back door, you know, or like, you know, you're leaving an opening here or whatever. And Ryan does that as well, but he's more gifted, I think, at finding the holes in the opponent. So they kind of complement each other in that way.
It's a good combo.
Yeah. And then, so like Kyle Gunther, who's cornered me a lot, and you know Kyle, he's cornered me the most besides Ryan, and he's been there, I don't know, probably for 10 fights or something like that with me. He is similar to Jimmy, but he's really like, I trust him in terms of grappling to have like a really good eye for that, because he understands MMA grappling really well. And so in that, I miss having him in my corner a lot of times, because Kyle's and he's really great to have in the back when you're warming up, because he's great. He's close to a little heavier than me, but he's close to my size, and he does a good job of helping me warm up and everything. And,
good hype guy. Good vibes.
Good hype guy. Good vibes. Yeah, and he just he's been there, done that as well. You know, he had a really good amateur career and has had a pro fight, and still could if he wanted to, and if his family wasn't for him. You know, it's the weight shifts the other way. For me, I'm at this point where I kind of had to decide not that long ago, like, am I going to step back from this thing, or am I going full force into it? And prayed about it, thought about it, talked about it with my wife. Like I said, I've only got so long to do it. So I'm going full force into it. And that's one thing I know you talked to Ryan about Theron. I wish just knowing how great of a fighter he is, how gifted and how popular, and how well he could do at whatever level he wanted to.
No doubt.
But if he doesn't want to do it, if that's not where his heart is, then he shouldn't. You know what I mean? Like, you shouldn't step into that cage without being fully in there. Right. So
we all wish you would.
Yeah, but there's definitely, like I said, there's part of me,
grown ass man.
Yeah, there's part of me that really wishes he would. But I understand he's got a family, and he does well in his business, and
he's got nothing to prove.
He doesn't have. He's still, like I said, one of the best boxer from around here in a long time. One of the best fighters to ever come out of this area, and we all kind of miss that. It's like,
of course,
like, man, I wish I could see it, because he could take it all the way. But yeah, so, and he took stock of things and decided that for him it made more sense to step away from it.
Right.
For me,
all in.
And maybe I'm just, like I said, it's that part of me that was still slinging drugs even though I was on probation and could have faced a lifetime of prison. I don't want to look back when I'm 45 and say, well, what if, or what could I have done?
Right.
And if I never get there, I never get there. You know what I mean? If I never get to the big show, and even the goal for me has always been world champion. So if I never get there, I never get there. But that's the goal, and that's what I'm pushing towards, and that's what my intention is. And now I'm able to, like I said, Ryan mentions sometimes, like, how long are you going to do this? Or like my wife has asked how long, and I'm like, well, as long as I'm able to some degree.
Right.
I take pretty good care of myself now, and I think I will be able to do this for another 7-8 years at a high level. Yeah. And so that's whenever I I think I'll know when it's not there anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I think everybody knows to some degree when that spark is gone. Right. Right. It's being willing to admit it to yourself,
accept
it, and hopefully not to be looking up at the lights, whenever that happens. Whenever you realize, hopefully
it's on your own terms.
Yeah, hopefully able to, hit them big shows. That's what I'm pushing for. Get a world title in one show or another, and or maybe multiple, whatever. Yeah. And then defend it. If it happens soon, I'll defend it, and then retire whenever I've pushed it all the way to the end. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to leave anything on the table. Yeah. That's pretty much where I'm at. And I think, like I said, in life, you do yourself a disservice if you leave things on the table for yourself. Like, go out there, give it whatever it is that you're doing. Yeah. Like, when I show up to work a day at Matco Heating and Air, I give it what I have that day. You know what I mean? So, and I think if you don't do that, you're really setting yourself up for regret in the future, and for being later down the road and really not liking the guy that you see in the mirror.
I mean, like, what happens to the things that are left on the table?
Yeah,
they stay on the table.
Spoil. Yeah,
they stay on the table. They're stuck in time.
Yep. But yeah, man. So for you, moving in with the in-laws, what's the move? You've been getting back more into podcasting and producing. Producing things.
Yeah, it's a similar story, kind of like what you are.
Decided I want to do this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, I've done it for, I guess, my whole life, really, just making videos and podcasts and content, I guess is what you could say. Right. But I've never really gone all in. It's like I'll do it for a little bit and I'll kind of pop out, and I'll do it for a little bit and pop out, and then I'll catch like a little, a hit. Oh, we love that podcast. We love that video. And it's like, oh, I get high off of it, and then it dies off. Yeah. And that was my.
That's the trap too, is of the temporary, like the social media, or just the little hits of dopamine that you get. Mm-hmm. You got to be able to stave that off and stay focused on the end goal. Which
or just use it to your advantage.
Yeah, that too. Feed the fire.
Yeah.
In today's world, that can be harder than ever because there's so many distractions. So
oh God, it's endless.
So many little things you can do, and
everywhere you look, if it's on your phone, it's in your pocket. It's where you go to the, every store that you go into, every brand, it's just
popping up.
Yeah, you can't. And that's honestly, that's one reason I love martial arts, is because it is like the mental clearing or whatever, you blow off steam.
Yeah, when you're in the gym.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's the moment you're in.
Yes.
And you can't, especially if you're in there working with a dude, if you're rolling, if you're sparring. Like,
well, even going through technique, it's like I have to focus on this 100%, especially with, the more traditional martial arts. It's like their technique is like, breathing and moving, and like, I think that is incredible. Yeah. Incredibly healthy. Yeah. And good to do.
Yeah. And that's, for me, like, speaking of the traditional martial arts, like I've kind of put it off. Like, I'm not a black belt under my dad. I'm a brown belt. And I know. And
oh no,
I know. And I've just never, and he wants me to go up there.
You would just have to train with him more.
I just need to, I put in 6 months or a year, and like really focus on it, and I can.
Well, you just chip away at it. Just go once a week.
Well, yeah, and I see him once a week to do. And like I said, it's usually once or twice a week, and it's small stuff. But he has a class that he hosts. It's a small group of guys.
Elite Navy SEAls in the woods.
They're cool dudes, but
this is Delta Force.
You would never guess from looking at them, but you should not.
That's usually how it goes.
You should not fool with those dudes for sure.
I'm polite to everybody.
Yeah, you should not fool with those two guys because they. I've done some work with them. Yeah, you wouldn't want to tussle with them, and they're not either of them a very big guy, but I wouldn't
deadly.
Mess with them
I'm
sure.
assuming.
Yeah, and they're both. I think they're second degree black belts under him, which is pretty rare.
Under karate, right?
Under my dad, under
the Okinawan.
Okinawan karate.
Did he go to Japan ever and train or anything? Or
no, he's trained with, like I said, Tom Honeycutt was one of his. That was his grandmaster. He's passed now. He was in Korea and he was stationed in Okinawa at the base there. He was a Marine.
Honeycutt. Or your dad.
Okay. And so he trained with Hohan Soken, who was like the last of the lineage of the samurais.
Oh wow!
And just like a legendary martial artist.
Right.
Born in the late 1800s, and he was born basically a samurai, and was essentially one of the most skilled fighters out of that area, maybe ever. And that's saying a lot for Okinawa, but so his lineage comes from some pretty high level up there guys, and he trained with John Moreau, who was the judo teacher he was the coach for the USA judo team back in the 80s and 90s.
Name sounds familiar.
And so the guy that currently runs the US judo team trained under him as well, Moreau, and so he just learned from some of the best that you can learn from, and they all just happen to be in this area
there,
at certain points in time, which is crazy. People don't know it, but the 4 states has been home to some of the most knowledgeable and highest level martial artists in recent, in the last century. And I think we're kind of seeing a resurgence of some of that now, because we got some great fighters coming out of this area, and some really
really
stellar, in terms of grappling. There's some guys that have won Pan Ams and some different things that are from this area. You know, several guys that have won world titles and world championships. And yeah, so my goal is to be.
Shit, Julius just went to the UFC.
That's right. And yeah, Julius is a stud. Yeah. I've always thought. I remember first fight that I was back there with him. We were on the same card in Rogers. I remember seeing him fight and be like, yeah, he was only like 19 or something, 20 at that point in time.
So he started doing MMA to lose weight.
Yeah, for basketball, probably.
For basketball. Because he was, I don't know, he said he was like 270. So he was up there.
Big boy.
Yeah. He's like, I gotta get off the couch.
Yeah, he's an animal.
Guess I'll go to the UFC.
I've always been impressed. And like his ability to grapple at that size, he's a stellar athlete, obviously, being a college basketball player. And he's parlayed that into, now he's a professional. He's in the UFC. And like, you know, he's I think he'll go far in that promotion. Like, great size for the weight class, you know, young, good skill set already. I'd like to see some development in his striking a little bit, but in terms of grappling, he's already at a high level. You know what I mean? Him, like Marshall Kemp, I think Marshall's awesome. Marshall's going to be at that next level soon. We've got several guys in the area, even from just Springfield, which is crazy. Several guys
right next door.
That are, which I often want to go. I've yet to get down to Springfield Fight Club and train with those guys, and I want to, but they keep offering me fights with guys from that gym.
Oh, that's a little awkward.
So it's one of those things where like, I'd love to come train with you guys, but they want me to fight you guys all the time, and then the Springfield Fight Club guys keep accepting the fights. So like, all right, you know, it is what it is at this point.
Oops.
But yeah, I
wish I could.
I hope to get.
You have to go to Team Fusion.
Yeah, and I've trained with some of those guys before, and I'd really love to train with Clem. I've never gotten a chance to train with him. I like him a lot. I'd love to train with him for sure. And you know, that's, I guess Julius is with them, right? But he trains with Springfield Fight Club as well, and then with,
I think he jumps around a little bit
with Marco as well.
And at Rage Fitness, I think they just changed their name though. I forget what they call it.
Did they? Yeah. And that dude, I've been seeing a lot of his strength and conditioning stuff. I would be interested in going there for sure.
We just need to get a group of Joplin boys and go
take a trip down there.
Yeah, like every 2 weeks.
I'm down.
Just get like a bus or something and just like go.
Yeah,
I'm serious.
Yeah.
I used to tell Dave all the time. I'm like, listen, take $10 from everybody's pay, tuition. Go buy an old church bus.
Right.
Paint Mac Club on it.
Right.
And then once a month we go
take a trip.
Yeah, we take a trip.
Go to Casey. Go
wherever.
Go to Tulsa. Go to Springfield.
Go to Neosho. Go. I mean, somewhere even close. Like go to Miami.
Yeah, there's been a few gyms in the local area that I've wanted to go train at. Local, like West Side MMA in Little Rock, and I've been invited, and I just.
Is that a good gym? Or?
Yeah, TJ Brown trains there.
Oh, okay. So that's
his brother.
Okay.
Trains there. There's quite a few good fighters in that area.
Cross training is incredible.
Bryce Mitchell.
Oh, he trains there too.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, there's a lot of good fighters down in that area for sure. I do need to get over to, like I said, Tater's gym. I've trained with Tater a bunch and had a couple of his guys come up, but I've never been to his gym that he's at now. And then the promoter of XFN, Apollo, he's got a gym in Tulsa as well, which is like it's a karate gym, but they also do MMA as well there. So
that's good.
I'd like to get in there, hopefully in this training camp, just to. I know that they've got some good kickboxing dudes, and just to get in front of Apollo and show him what I look like in the gym as well.
A little more personable.
Get to actually talk to him outside of the night of the fight or weigh-ins.
Right. Yeah. But cross training is inviable. Like
it is, for sure.
I think everybody should cross train as much as they can.
Yeah, and like I said, I go to Inferno pretty regularly. One place that I'd like to shout out that I really have enjoyed cross training, and I need to go back soon. It's a long trip. It's down in Largo, Florida, by Tampa. MJM Sitijong Muay Thai. It was a Muay Thai gym. I spent a week down there a couple of years ago, and man, it leveled up my Muay Thai understanding. Yeah. Just, I went in there 2 or 3 times a day for that week while I was there. I was supposed to be on vacation, which I was, but I was also.
That sounds like such a good idea, though. Oh, like find a gym and just go for a week. Just get a B&B for a week.
Yeah.
And you're just there.
Yeah, we stayed. My wife has an aunt.
I'm not
who
professional,
lives,
but
yeah, come
that
on
would
down.
be fun.
I'll go with you. Let's go down there, dude. And Tampa's.
Oh yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that area, which they're on St. Pete, the island next to Tampa, nicer area than Tampa. But yeah, we went down there. And
nicer area than Tampa. I thought Tampa's pretty nice.
Well, so yeah, Tampa's really nice, but like
it's like the
Tampa's
rich part?
on the lake. Yeah, it's the St. Pete's, the island that's off of Tampa, essentially. And yeah, it's beautiful, man. It's super nice. And
Kelsey and I, we're going to take a Tesla road trip around going all the way around Florida this summer.
Really cool.
Yeah,
do it, man.
So should we?
I'd be down.
Should we go? I was gonna say, should we go?
Go to Largo.
Should we go? I feel comfortable going with you.
No, for sure. Yeah.
I'm with him.
Yeah, go on down. I'd be down for sure. I'm hoping to take a trip down there towards the end of the summer after these couple fights coming up. Little family vacation and training again, because it seems like I can't do a family vacation without training somewhere. So
that's because you're a professional, dude.
Right? Yeah. So like, when I went down to Gulf Shores. A few years ago, I went to 10th Planet Gym down there and did some grappling with those guys. And so I just try and find a gym that seems to have some good fighters and good martial artists, and I spend a little time there when I'm on vacation. And my wife loves the beach, so it's usually at the beach location, which I like.
Oh yeah,
can't beat the beach, but
no.
It's it makes it a little less fun whenever you're all beat up, but at the same time,
hey girls, how was your time at the beach?
Yeah, there's nowhere better to be beat up than sitting on the beach with a cold one.
So. Oh, so true. The reward afterwards.
Yeah, we like to get get a beachfront place and something with a grill. Sit out there and grill something. Yeah, that's one of my favorite times. Just sit out there. The grill going, watch the waves come in.
Oh
it's
yeah,
amazing.
Paradise. Yeah, I mean, and it also feels like
I'm
you're
hankering
not
for it right
losing.
now.
Yeah, I know. Keep talking about it. It also feels like you don't lose, stride. Like you're going and you're hitting the gym. You're getting some workout in.
Yeah, I like to get beach runs in.
Yeah. And then you can. I mean, at least for me, then I can relax.
Right.
If I don't get that stuff in, I'm gonna have a good time, but there's gonna be something in the back of my head.
Right.
Like,
yeah, and if you're getting too deep into the brewskis and then it's just like, well, now I need a vacation from my vacation.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. So
anytime I go work, like for video, I always go try to find a gym. If we wrap up early,
right.
This guy's like, "What do you do when you are staying in the hotel? Do you find a bar?" I'm like, "I look for a jiu-jitsu gym, and I go and I train,
go and get beat up a little bit, and then come back and relax.
Love it. I love it.
Yeah, there's nothing quite like after you've worked hard. And
I go back to the hotel. I freaking open pork rinds and I watch my movie, and I'm like, I did what I was supposed to do. Like, now great. I can relax.
That's great.
Yeah. I don't have to like think about what I could have done or should have done.
Get that pigskin.
Yeah, because like when you cross train, it's at least for me, it's like nerve wracking.
Oh yeah, at first whenever you're meeting everybody.
Yeah, I'm a big guy too, so they think like there's a target.
Well, and same for me because I do let people know, like,
oh right,
I compete. Right. Now I let them know, like, hey, I'm a pro. I usually, get a hold of them on Instagram or whatever, give them a call before and just like, hey, I'm coming to get some training and like I want to train with somebody that's going to make it worth my time. You know what I mean? And like when I went to that gym in Largo, Florida, they had everything I needed for sure. Like they had plenty of really talented fighters. Do you know of Michael Heckert? He was the guy who got me. He's done some bare knuckle stuff and some stuff like that. He was kind of the connection that got me into that gym and training with him. And then I got a boxing private from J.R. Ridge, who fought for the bare knuckle, the BKFC championship against John Dodson. He fought against him. So like, whenever I do something like that, I want to make sure that it's going to be worth it. You know what I mean? Like, and I try to make sure to take care of the gyms too. Like I pay them a decent amount so that they're happy that I'm there, and because I want to be able to go back and and build that relationship and keep going from there. That one in MJM, they have some stellar fighters, and they got this kid Noah that's been over in Thailand a bunch. And fighting a bunch over there, and I think he's coming back right now from Thailand. But they've got some absolute killers. So,
that's good.
Anybody who's looking to travel and train some Muay Thai, go down there. If you got time and money to go down to St. Pete area, it's well worth it.
I see a lot of videos on Instagram from the Goat Shed. You ever see that?
Yeah, I'd love to. I've never been to Miami. I'd love to go
Miami?
down. I'd love to go down to Miami. Because I mean, obviously that's like about as good as it gets
Vice City.
Yeah, for that and Vegas are about as good as it gets for martial arts at this point in
really?
time.
You think so?
Yeah.
Those two places?
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Not Austin or anything? Or?
Austin's up there. Especially for grappling.
Yeah.
Austin's maybe the best for grappling, specifically. But
you think Miami and Vegas are the best for
MMA? Yeah, I would say.
Just because the UFC based in Vegas, and then
there's Extreme Couture, and there's the UFC gym. There's Extreme Couture. There's several good gyms in Vegas and boxing gyms as well. There's a lot of boxing gyms. But yeah, Miami area's got American Top Team. They got the Goat Shed. They've got what's the other one? There's like 4 or 5.
Oh wow!
I
didn't know that.
Top class gyms down there, like world known gyms in that area. And there's even more than that. There's even more that are not as well known in that area. I mean, and you think about it, like both those places, warm weather, great weather,
year-round training.
If you like being stupid hot.
I love it.
Yeah.
Turn the humidity up.
Vegas is ridiculous as far as just the dry heat. But, I've never been to Miami. That's one goal for sure in the next few years is to get down there and get some training in. And, Goat Shed, that place, the only thing about there is, like, when you see those videos, dude.
That's what I'm saying.
Those dudes go hard.
Those videos are freaking intimidating.
Yeah, those dudes go hard.
Do you have a white belt section?
Right. No, I'm not trying to go cross-train and have somebody try to kill me when I'm doing it. I mean? Like, I want to get some good work. I'm not trying to have a full-on fight for free.
I've seen KOs on their, and it's always a security camera, It's not like a phone. It's like, look what happened today.
Yeah, and there's just,
God.
I get it because, like, it's a lot of pro fighters and everybody's got an ego, but.
Right. Well, don't you think at that level of professional fighting, like you just have to go that hard sometimes?
I don't think so. Sometimes, yeah. If you're in camp.
That's what I mean, like towards the end of camp or something.
If you're in camp, but still, like, I'd rather go with guys that I trust.
Yeah.
That I can really work hard with, you know what I mean? And, like, we can get the solid work in, but I'm not going to get brain damage.
Just from training.
Because getting your bell rung 3 weeks out from a fight is going to show itself in the fight potentially. You know what I mean? Like it's more easy for you to get rocked in the fight.
Right.
So if maybe you're a long ways from a fight and you just want to go and test yourself against some guys and
see where you're at.
Yeah, see where you're at and like really, and I've been there as well. Boxing gyms, it's almost always that way. Like when you go to a serious boxing gym, not Mossberg Boxing, which we're a serious boxing gym.
I was going to say, serious.
We're a serious boxing gym, but we don't try and kill each other. When you go to a lot of boxing gyms, like the spar is not, it's 100%.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you're trying to knock each other out, which, like I said, there's a place for that to some degree, but I think the more intelligent way to spar is with control. Like, we're going very intense and we're getting that cardio work in and we're getting that positional work in and everything. And I'm trying to set up the knockout shot. Like I'm trying to get it to where I could knock you out, but I'm not actually trying to knock you out.
Right.
Like I'm strategically putting myself or you in the position where I have the advantage and there's not much you can do.
Right. There's plenty to work on.
Right. Because if you're just brawling and going hard in the gym, and getting cracked, or cracking dudes and putting them on their butt, like that feels good. Feels good to put somebody on their butt in the gym, I guess. But But
what great value does it give?
What does it do for you? Yeah, because like you're not getting paid in that moment.
Right.
Nobody's really watching. Like.
Are you better for it?
Right. How much did you learn, or did you just learn that? Hey, I know I can hit hard, which you should already know that. You know what I mean? Like, if you can't pack a punch and exert your will, you shouldn't be in there. And that's where, like, to me, it's more important to, push that super hard pace, but we're not trying to kill each other. Right. Like, I am trying to set up the kill shot, not kill you. That's essentially the way I look at it. Like,
you've done that to me a few times.
Yeah, and I think it reflects itself in the way I spar because, if that's the way we wanted to spar, like, people are leaving with a lot more brain damage and leaving their career in the gym.
Right.
And I want my career to be in the lights in front of everybody, getting paid.
Yeah, we want to focus on longevity here.
And
technique
like I said,
and longevity.
I started, I guess, a little late in the game because I was 24, and if you want to really, be like, a lot of these kids are starting pretty young nowadays, and I was 28 when I started my professional career, so like I got 12 years from that point in time maybe. So if I spend a lot of time just getting cracked in the gym, how much is that going to help me in that point in time? You know what I mean?
It's going to shrink your career quite a bit.
I think early on in your career, you need to have some of those. And like, but once you've been in a fight, once you've been in hard fights, and once you've been cracked and got back up and kept going and, you know, hopefully won the fight, it doesn't serve much purpose, because you should already know that that's within you. Like, you should already have that part going into the fight, and that shouldn't be your concern. It should be more on technical understanding, application. I'm in good shape. Like, you know, yeah, I just want to be better than them, not tougher.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because we're not in the gym working on toughness. We're in the gym working on skills.
You don't want to discover toughness, you know, in the middle of a fight. Like you said, you need to know.
It will happen, yeah. And you discover what depth you have.
Sure.
But yeah, I think early in your amateur career, when you're on your way up, and I certainly had these times, like in the gym, and it's just how it's going to go, because you're not as good as the guys that you're training with. It's going to feel like a fight, because you're like trying to survive. You know what I mean? Like, this dude may not be going 100%, but you're like, holy crap, I'm dying here.
Yeah.
Like, please.
Oh, yeah. I've never felt that before, dude. Never.
Yeah, right. No, I've been there plenty of times. Yeah, there's been plenty of dudes. Like,
it's crazy.
I can recall Frank Byers put me there. I can recall TJ Britton put me there. I can recall a lot of guys put me in that spot, especially early on, like just feeling like, holy crap.
Oh yeah.
And at the end of the round, like, like, you know what I mean? Like, I can't believe I made it through that, and like, I don't want to do that again right now.
I don't like the non-escape, you know. It's like you keep turning, it's like, oh damn, it just keeps coming.
That's where you find out whether you're going to be in the cage and be able to deal with it or not. Like, like I said, you don't want to speak unkindly to the warrior within. And so, to me, in sparring, you're always going to have, or in training, you're always going to have rough days. It's going to happen. But if that rough day is that we win 100% and I got knocked the heck out in sparring, that's not going to be good for your confidence going into the fight. You know what I mean? And so that's one of the, you know, confidence is key. You need to know, obviously, that you can take those shots. Like I said, you need to know that you can go to that place and get that dog out. But that's not something you need to do all the time.
Right.
And that's a very sparing thing. Like, I really only spar hard, you know, like a few times in a camp. You know, and the rest of it's a lot more technical, a lot more, and then like the hard sparring is usually, it's got to be against a guy that's at my level or above, which is increasingly hard to find, and that's why I need to start branching out more. And so for like, to me, it's just more about preparing yourself in terms of skill, in terms of physical preparedness, and the will you should know that especially by the time you make it to a pro, like that should be something that you've already established. Right. That's why you need to have quite a few fights as an amateur. Like, I had 12 fights, like I said, which I think is a pretty good number. It depends on everybody. Like, there's guys that have like 20, 30 fights as an amateur. I'm like, you probably should have made some money.
We get it
before that. Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah. Like, and that's like, I'm talking like fights. You know, if you want to go out and do grappling competitions or IKF, like touch competitions, or, you know, touch boxing or whatever, you know, semi-contact stuff, like, there's definitely a place for that. But you don't need to be going and getting into knockout, drag-out fights 20 times and 30 times to get...
Without being a pro.
Right, without getting paid. Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense to me. If that's your goal, is to be a professional. Right. You want to stay amateur your record's got to start at some point. You know what I mean? Yeah, and I get that nobody wants to lose, but...
Part of it.
You got to take chances. It's going to happen. Got to. You know, I've lost, and it sucks. Yeah. You learn a lot. And those are the moments where you really actually learn something and can take a life lesson away from it, and you can find those things about yourself that are deeper, like those deep searching moments often are in a loss or in a hard fight. Right. Like, you know, like, yeah, that's essentially the way I look at it. You don't need to, some of that can be done in the gym, and it shouldn't be done under the threat of knockout in the gym. you can go in there and get a really freaking hard workout, you know what I mean? And that'll take you to that place, you know what I mean? If you go in there and you kill yourself in a training session, that should take you
where you need to go.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, if you're not pushing yourself hard enough in the training session, then that's where you should be going, is to that point. Yeah.
Very wise words.
I hope so. I don't know about that.
No, for sure. No,
I've learned a couple things from all these fights, and it's all just hard to communicate. You know what I mean? Like,
especially if you've never done it. You know, I've never been in the cage. I've sparred plenty, but never had that lock. You know,
right? Never
been in that mindset. And I mean, 99% of people haven't.
Yeah. So, dude. Yeah. Sometimes, like, I find myself, like, oh, it's happening. Yeah. We're here now. You know, I've already walked into the cage. I walked around and everything, and I'm looking across the guy. I'm like, oh yeah. Oh, okay, we're here.
I am. Dude, I film and I get to leave. I always think that I'm in the cage. I'm like, man, I'm glad I get the heck out of here. No, dude, I think you're going to do great things. I believe in you. I've seen you develop for a very short time, but it's been very fun to watch you fight. It's been awesome to train with you. I mean, you're one of my favorite people. In fact, one of the last text messages I sent you before today was like, are you coming tonight? I want to kick.
Yeah, there we go.
So,
yeah. Well, and anytime you want to get some more learning in, come on in, dude. Like,
well, I want to really go learn how to survive in the wilderness. So.
Well, you'd have to pay me a lot for that.
You're like, no.
One of the main things I learned from that is, like, I don't want to live in the woods.
Yeah, right.
I enjoy having, you know, a nice home cooked meal and my bed,
a soft couch.
It's good to know. It's good to know those things, but there's a reason we move past that.
Yeah, right. It's a reason we go camp for a few days and we come back.
Yeah, like, and it's a great thing to reconnect, you know, with nature. And I do encourage people, like, you should get out and do things. You know what I mean? Like, I went floating last Saturday, which is a very low key way of reconnecting with nature.
Oh, it's good.
But
it's good.
Just sitting out there trying to catch some fish, you know, paddling through the water, or, you know, like I said, sitting by a campfire, hanging with the boys, hanging with the fam.
Oh yeah.
There's something about it.
We need more of that in our lives.
Yeah, definitely. And that's one thing. Yeah, definitely people should be encouraged to pursue that. And, like, if it's not something that you grew up doing, even more so.
Oh,
like,
yes.
Get out there and just enjoy some of the nature. And, like, sometimes the weather sucks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, sometimes you wake up and it's raining on you and your tent's leaking.
Those are the best memories.
Yep. Those are the ones you remember. Yeah. I can remember being a little kid, you know, at Lake Taneycomo and waking up, and my brother and I are in the tent, and it's just like, doop, 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 just starts coming down on us.
They get the bowl, and it's like, if that breaks.
You kind of like sit up in the tent and you're just soaked. Like,
man. Oh, time to get the day started.
Get going. Let's go sit by the fire, and hopefully somebody comes out and makes some food soon.
Right. Someone's got to go kill it.
Yep.
But, well, dude, I really appreciate you coming on, sharing your story. I know a lot of that was very heavy to share, and I was honored when you sliced and diced this dude, and then the first thing you do is you turn to me and say, "Hey, I want to get on the pod."
Yeah,
like,
dude. Well, you know
what?
It's something, you know, since Ryan came on here the first time, it's something I've thought about. Like, I'm kind of a quiet guy, you know what I mean? But, like, it's important to share your story.
I agree.
It's important to get yourself out there. And just to connect with people. And so that's in this season in my life, you know, it's one thing I'm really trying to reopen up to, because I've, you know, like I said, been between training and working in the family. It's just, there's not much left. Right. And so I'm just trying to make as much room for all that as I can. You know what I mean? But I appreciate you too.
Yeah, dude. And you never know, you know, what person would be affected by your story.
Definitely.
And what part of your story too.
Right.
It could be the dark days. It could be, you know, when I first started training, the reason why you started competing. I mean, it could be, you never know. So
yeah, it's like I said, some of that stuff is hard.
Yeah.
Hard to bring back up, you know, or whatever. And I think everybody's got those moments, but it's important to address those things. It's important, like you said, to share it. So I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, I appreciate you. I appreciate the shirt. And what do you got?
Absolutely.
June 28th?
June 28th. Miami. Buffalo Run Casino. Come out and watch me kick somebody in the head.
That'll be fun. I'll be there. Hopefully I'll be there June 28th. Who knows?
Come get a ticket, bro.
Yeah. Can I get a ticket?
You can get a ticket.
How much does a ticket cost?
Oh, they haven't come to me yet. They're usually like $35.
$35. Okay.
I know, yeah.
That's actually really
the
good.
good thing is that there's not a bad seat in the house there. So
Well, that's why I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, in Buffalo Run, like, I'm going to go gamble a little bit, I'm going to have a drink, and then I'm going to go watch fights.
It's always a fun night.
Yeah, it's a good spot to be.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Looking forward to whatever happens, dude.
Absolutely. Man.
Great things.
Thank you for the support.
Things. Yep. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening to Sci-Fi and Friends episode 88. Getting close to that number 90. Yeah, 88's a good number.
We're going to be in the triple digits soon, man.
Yeah, that's right. I'm working my way there. I hope you enjoyed listening today. Reach out to Zerek or come out to Mossberg's Boxing Academy on Main Street and get some good training in. Zerek fights June 28th at Buffalo Run Casino. Get your tickets. Can they buy them somewhere?
From me or from Ryan at the gym. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So come to the gym.
Holler at me on Instagram at Zerek Zumwalt. Also
at
the Handyman Z. Yeah. Yeah, man. Always very grateful to have anybody come and watch me do my thing, because hard-earned money, you know, people give up their time, and I appreciate that people are willing to support in that way, you know what I mean? And like, yeah, it's a dream for me, and every night that I get to go out there and do that is a dream fulfilled. So it's pretty awesome.
And I guarantee you will be entertained.
Yeah, I come
without
to
a doubt.
I come to fight.
Without a doubt. So, all right. Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a great week. Peace.
Sci-Fi wins.